Good morning. Good morning, my friends, and thank you so much for coming to hang out with me today. Sunday, July 7th, 2024, and we're back at it. We're back at it today. How is everyone doing? Prayers up for all of our friends in Texas as they prepare for Hurricane Beryl, right? Is Beryl supposed to hit land today? Everyone, please stay safe in Texas. All my Texas friends. I think I see some in the chat. Saw some earlier. And on the Cape too. Scarlet Begonias. I love your name. I love your name. See my Deadhead poster in the background here? If you know, you know. Good morning. Happy Sunday, everyone. I hope everyone had a restful holiday in the US. If you had a short week for work for Independence Day, God bless America. And we need to cherish our independence while we have it and our freedoms while we have them. I am outraged. Thank you so much to everyone who's been asking me to cover the Sandra Birchmore case going all the way back to January. I went through my emails and I get so many emails, but so many of you have been asking me to talk about Sandra Birchmore since at least January of this year when I started covering Karen Read. And because I was so hyper focused on Karen Read and single thread for a while, and between the pretrial coverage that we jammed into, so many shows before the trial started, and then we had at least 30 days of trial and then verdict watch. And now it's time to talk about Sandra Birchmore. And I got to be honest, I really didn't look into it that much when you guys sent it to me originally. And now that I have looked into it, I'm outraged. I'm outraged. And no wonder all of you who live in Norfolk County are so outraged. Not just by the travesty that was the Karen Read case and still is the Karen Read case, because we're not done with that yet. We'll be back in court on July 22nd at 2 p.m. for another hearing to find out whether the district attorney is going to go ahead with a new trial. They said they were. And if so, perhaps when that trial will be. I have heard maybe rumblings of October. I don't know. But this case of Sandra Birchmore will outrage you. There are so many similarities. You're right, just me. So many similarities. Except this involves a child. 2 children, actually, an unborn child and a child who was groomed from the age of 13 by some Stoughton police officers. And the level of horror that several police officers and another guy who happened to work for the town of Canton, animal control, inflicted on Sandra Birchmore is horrific. And it resonated with me not only because there are so many players that also were involved in the Karen Read investigation and that testified in the Karen Read case, trial, investigation, police officers. It goes to a deeper level of cover-up, perhaps, corruption, perhaps, district attorney improprieties, perhaps. And this, if you don't know anything about this case, it may shake you to the core. I'm going to put up a blanket trigger warning because, you know, I'm the mother of 5. And so all of these cases involving children trigger me. And so I find them very difficult to cover. I'm going to try and keep it classy. I'm going to try and use words that are not going to be stricken by YouTube's algorithm, because this is a story that needs to get out there. And I'm horrified. And it also resonated with me because if you know, and you've been following me for a long time, you know that I was the lead counsel for the victims/survivors of clergy SA in New York on Long Island against the Rockville Center Diocese when that scandal broke in 2002. That was a major cover-up and a pattern of abuse that went on for decades, if not centuries, in the Catholic Church. And I'm not here to bash the Catholic Church, okay? I'm Catholic. So imagine how personal those cases were to me, having gone to Catholic school, having to find out that one of the worst perpetrators of abuse, happened to have been the chaplain at my high school. Nobody believed any of those survivors when they were children, if their parents found out and even went to the church to tell the church what was going on. But the church had an internal policy in place of how to deal with these complaints and what to do, how to keep the parents from going to law enforcement, telling them they would handle it in-house. Don't worry about it. We got this. Parents didn't know that a lot of the priests that they were going to report to were also lawyers who had orchestrated a policy and the shuffling of priests that lasted for decades. For example, I think, can't remember exactly how many, but at least 10 men who were victims of the same priest over a 15-year period in 7 different parishes. Something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but that's what they did. They shuffled them around without warning the next parish, without warning the people in charge, people living in the rectory. And the level of abuse that I heard about and learned about, and that was uncovered by the Suffolk County, New York grand jury report, was horrific. It was scathing. And what happened to Sandra Birchmore may also be on the level, because there is an investigation going on right now into this Explorer program, which is run by police departments throughout the United States and overseen by the Boy Scouts of America. If you know anything about the Boy Scouts of America, you know the slew of litigation that has occurred against the Boy Scouts of America, with very similar allegations to what happened in the Catholic Church. So while this should come as no surprise to anyone, it's shocking to read about. There's a nonprofit news organization called the Marshall Project that has been digging into this systemic abuse among these Explorer programs, which are youth programs for kids that want to become police officers. It was created by the Boy Scouts of America decades ago. And the Explorer program is intended to help teens and young adults learn about policing. Sandra Birchmore's case isn't the only one with allegations against this Explorer program. There are at least 194 other allegations that law enforcement personnel, mostly policemen, have groomed, essayed, or engaged with inappropriate behavior with explorers going all the way back to 1974, according to this ongoing investigation by the Marshall Project. The vast majority of those affected were teenage girls, some as young as 13 years old. 13 years old. And I will tell you from my handling of these cases and many other cases like it, is that the monsters who perpetrate these crimes on children target specific children with specific characteristics, because they can pick and choose, because they have unfettered access to children based on their participation in these programs. So they can pretty much tell who's going to tell on them and who's not, who's vulnerable and who's a fighter. And oftentimes they target children who come from broken homes, homes with addiction, homes where the child may be the youngest of 7, 8 children and doesn't get a lot of attention. And they shower the child with attention and they groom them. And there's a very specific procedure and process that they use. That's pretty much the same in all cases. And it is horrifying. But in this case of Sandra Birchmore, she joined this Explorer program when I think she was around 13 years old. You guys know more than I do in the chat. And thank you so much to Mandy and to Mizzy for sending me so many documents on this case so that I could really do this deep dive for you. And I'm a litigator. I'm a civil litigator. This is my wheelhouse. This is what I do. Because right now, this is a civil case. There are no criminal charges that have been brought. So Sandra Birchmore, who in some of these articles say she's had a long-standing mental health history or mental health issues, it makes me wonder whether the mental health issues that she had or that they say she had manifested after this horrific grooming started. So I believe she joined the Explorer program when she was 13 years old because she revered police officers. She wanted to be a police officer. And she became a part of this program that was run by the Stoughton Police Department, which neighbors Canton, right? No wonder she had mental health issues. Exactly. Which came first? Exactly. Which came first? Her vulnerabilities may have made her vulnerable to wanting attention or what she may have perceived as love, or no wonder she had mental health issues. Hey, it's chaos coordinator. Yep. Alley Cat says, Sally, there probably will never be criminals. Oh, no, 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 Alley Cat, we're not stopping. Because we're not stopping with this. We're not. There needs to be criminal charges. And we're not stopping. There's going to be justice for Sandra Birchmore, because guess what? Sandra Birchmore is not the only one that these explorers or these police officers in this organization have hurt. And in this case, I'm all over the place with this because I'm so outraged that you could see the steam coming out of my ears. She joins this explorers program when she's about 13 years old because she wants to be a police officer, and she looks up to them, and it's run by the Stoughton PD. And the last person to see Sandra Birchmore alive was a police officer from Stoughton. Apparently, this police officer, Matthew Farwell, according to text messages that were uncovered during the investigation, started his, I'm going to say, relations with her when she was 15 years old. His name is Matthew Farwell. He has a twin brother named William Farwell, who was also using Sandra Birchmore, as was Robert Devine, who was the head of the program, the Explorer program, who was also, I believe, a Stoughton police officer. And when her body was found on February 4th of 2021, she was 3 months pregnant. And she told her friends that she was pregnant with Matthew Farwell's baby. And Matthew Farwell was married. His wife was pregnant. And Matthew Farwell is seen on closed circuit TV or video going to Sandra Birchmore's apartment on February 1st of 2021, which was 3 days before she was found. His wife was actually in the hospital getting ready to have a C-section the next day. And Canton PD was first on the scene. Our friend Sergeant Lank, first guy in there, right? Trooperino, as we called him in the Karen Reed trial, or Trooper Guarino, was the one to analyze the cell phones. He didn't find anything. Sergeant Trooper Dunn, I think, was also involved there. He's as such testified in the Karen Reed case as well. And this predates the Karen Reed case because this is in February of 2021. And as you recall, Officer John O'Keefe was murdered in January of 2022. So Sandra Birchmore came first. Ruby, we're going to get into that. Same gang, back together, all again. Thank you, Lauren, for becoming a new member. And New York Mom Adrian for becoming a new member. And On Top for being on top with the super sticker. To Maureen Francis for getting in there with the Cash App early today. Thank you so very much. Nancy, thanks for being a member for 5 months and loves my channel. And Nancy, I love you and all of my members right back, my cupcakes. Leanne Wilson, thanks for being a member for a month. Says, thank you for all I do. Do we know if any of the investigators in the Sandra Birchmore case also investigated Karen Reed? Yes, we are, because we are going to look at not only the civil lawsuit, which is winding its way through Norfolk Superior Court, coincidentally, in Dedham, but we're going to look at the original investigative report of the Canton Police Department. So we're going to see what they saw. And I'm happy to tell you, the feds are investigating the Sandra Birchmore case. So much more is going to come out and be uncovered because feds are involved in that one too. Thank you, Kez Chick 56 for being a member for 2 months. Appreciate you so. Deja Vu Crew, I'm Crew Digga. Look forward to more trials with you too. Thanks for being a member for 2 months. And Kim Alliston, thanks for becoming a member. I know you, Kim. I know you. Lori, Life 360 is for the win, Lori. And thank you for gifting 5 memberships. You are always so very kind and generous to my channel. And also thank you to Shari. If you're here today, I did not get a chance to thank you, I think on the last stream, for your very kind Cash App donation. So thank you so much for that. Let me just make sure that I am thanking the correct person. Some people want to remain anonymous. A lot of you want to remain anonymous and living near there. Yes, it's Sherry D. Thank you so much, Sherry D. And actually, she contributed $24.90 for an ode to Officer John O'Keefe's badge number. And that was so sweet of you. And that was from last Wednesday. So thank you, Sherry. That was a crazy stream. We had something like 17,000 people. I can't recall. I think, was that the stream I did with Ali Mata? I think so. So I'm sorry if I neglected to thank you, but so many of you want to remain anonymous, and I can't say that I blame you. I can't say that I blame you. So I'm outraged, and that's all that you need to know, because I'm not letting go of this one. I'm not letting go of this one. And yep, the chief of police made some press conferences on this, but there's been no criminal charges, Angela Marie, and I am shocked. Gaylin, how are you, Gaylin? It's been a while. Thanks for gifting 10 memberships. You're so amazing. We are pushing up on 60,000, you guys. I think we're something like less than 300 away from 60,000 members in 1 year. It was my 1-year anniversary. Very recently, June 26th was the first time I ever posted any content on this channel. And it was the Kevin Costner divorce. And so many of you have been there ever since. Tammy Truth and Justice says, thanks for covering these stories. These are stories that need attention. And when something needs attention, I'm here for it. There's another story that I'm going to cover maybe later on today. I don't know if any of you have heard of this. It's a horrific story out of Northern California. Missing mother of 4, Nikki McLean, who is missing. Her husband has 4 felony charges against him for DV. She's missing. And the DV charges got dismissed, I think, on Friday because she didn't show up, because she's missing. And then he gets blamed for a massive wildfire in Northern California. Any idea why he might have started that fire? We're going to cover that too, because one of my amazing viewers lives in that town where it happened, RN Homestead. If you're here today, I'm covering it. Yeah, it's horrific. Nikki McLean. We're going to do that later. But today we're going to, oh, the Boston Globe posted an editorial on Sandra Birchmore today. Very interesting. Oh, patriotic. Was here for Kevin Costner's divorce, and then Ruby Frankie and Jody Hildebrandt, and then take care of Maya, and then Karen Reed. Rock on. Thank you, patriotic. She sends out group texts into her family, and they all watch. So hello to your entire family if you're here. Ding, 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 ding. Yes, Amanda, that's what I think. Started a fire to cover evidence. Yep. All right, let's get back to Sandra Birchmore now. We will try and stay on topic, my friends, because we have so much to color. Hello, Colorado. Go Buffs. Go Buffs. I'm a Buff. Oh, that's Canada. I think somebody said Colorado as well. So hello to Canada. All right. We're going to get to it. First thing that we're going to do is we are going to, I think the first thing that we're going to do is let's look at the civil lawsuit first, because that's what my title says, and then we're gonna look at the police report. And then we're gonna look at some hypocrisy on court TV about this case. Because you know what I always like to say, can't use it as a shield and a sword, right? Well, some of the talking heads on court TV seem to find the Sandra Birchmore case horrific, but for all the same reasons that the Karen Reed case is horrific. But they don't feel that way about Karen Reed. So WTF, my friends. I'm keeping it classy today. So I know you like to watch me with your kids in the room without headphones on and stuff like that. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the civil lawsuit that is pending in Norfolk Superior Court that was brought by Sandra Birchmore's aunt, Darlene Smith, as the representative of her estate. This was originally filed in December of 2022. We are now up to the second amended complaint. We're gonna follow this litigation as it goes on because it's still pending. But by looking at the complaint, we're gonna glean some of the allegations that are being made against not only Stoughton PD, but the 3 police officers and Joshua Heel, who was the town of Canton animal control officer, I believe, at the time. Somebody asked if we have a photo. There is a photo. Let me pull up a photo for you. It's a photo of Robert Devine and Sandra Birchmore. She was just a teenager. I don't know how old she is in this picture, but he's a named defendant who also groomed her, allegedly, according to this wrongful death lawsuit that was filed by her estate. She looks like a baby in that picture. Yep. Anonymous Canadian girl. She was just a baby. And it breaks my heart. These kind of cases break my heart. Here's another picture you might enjoy. Michael Morrissey and Robert Devine. These people are all involved in all of these cases, right in that same general area of Norfolk County. No wonder you're auditing your police departments. No wonder you are outraged when you go to the Canton board meetings. I'm rarely speechless, but this kind of case leaves me speechless. Let's take a look at the complaint. We read documents here. That's what we do. And so many of you say you learn so much from reading the documents, so I'm glad. I'm glad that you enjoy doing that. So this second amended complaint was just filed in February of 2023. Case is winding through the courts. Heel has been dismissed from the lawsuit, and William Farwell's attorney just quit. So there will be some, let's see what kind of format we can. is the best for this. Come on. There we go. Okay, so this case is pending in Norfolk Superior Court, same court that Karen Reed's case was tried in. This is a civil case. This is my wheelhouse. This is what I do. This is what I did for 30 years, civil litigation. Case is entitled Darlene Smith as the personal representative of the estate of Sandra BIRCHMORE versus Matthew Farwell, William Farwell, his twin brother, Robert Devine, and Joshua Heel individually, the town of Stoughton and the Stoughton Police Department. This is the second amended complaint and demand for the jury trial. And here's the nature of the action. This is an action brought by the plaintiff, Darlene Smith, as the personal representative of the estate of Sandra BIRCHMORE, hereinafter referred to as plaintiff, for wrongful death, negligence, negligent supervision, negligent retention, pain and suffering, emotional distress, civil rights violations, and civil conspiracy as against the defendants Matthew Farwell, William Farwell, Robert Devine, Joshua Heel, the town of Stoughton, and the Stoughton Police Department, for claims arising out of an ongoing scheme of grooming Sandra BIRCHMORE, hereinafter referred to decedent or Ms. BIRCHMORE, and misconduct that ultimately led to the loss of Ms. BIRCHMORE's life on February 4th, 2021, after the defendants, Matthew and William Farwell, Robert Devine, hereinafter collectively the officers, and Joshua Heel undertook to engage in appropriate relationships with the decedent, abusing her trust and adoration of law enforcement, which through their inappropriate and undue influence ultimately led her to allegedly take her own life. There's been some recent reporting that the family or the plaintiff's attorney in this lawsuit hired Dr. Michael Bodden, who's a world-renowned forensic pathologist. He goes all the way back to the OJ case. He's been doing it forever. And he's now saying, we'll get into that later. This is going to take a couple of streams to even get up to speed on this case, so it's going to be a series. Dr. Bodden has reviewed the autopsy report, and he is saying this was not a taking of one's own life. This was a homicide. Plaintiff brings this action against the town of Stoughton for claims arising from the conduct of Heel and its officers, and against the Stoughton Police Department for claims arising from the conduct of its officers and its negligence and its supervision of said officers over the duration of the Stoughton Police Explorers program and thereafter. And they get into venue, why it's proper in Norfolk County. We don't need to go through that. Here's just some background. I've redacted their addresses, but I can tell you that Darlene Smith, Sandra BIRCHMORE's aunt, lives in Stoughton. Matthew Farwell, at the time this was filed, I don't know if he still lives there, lives in Northeaston. His twin brother, William Farwell, lives in Stoughton. Defendant Robert Devine in Stoughton. And Joshua Heel lives or lived in Abington. It is not Judge Canoni who has this case right now. There's been something like 4 judges on it. And first it was Judge Brian Davis, then it was Joseph Layton, and now it looks like it is the next appearance is on the 11th, which is next week. It's a motion on the hearing to compel, and it's now in front of a Judge Claudine, I'm going to say Cloutier. Here are the facts as alleged in the complaint. On February 4th of 2021, the Canton Police Department responded to a welfare check at the decedent's apartment located in Canton, Massachusetts, following a request from her employer, who was justifiably concerned as she had not reported to work for several days. It was during this welfare check that the body of the decedent was discovered, and she was pronounced dead at the scene by the responding paramedics. At the time of her death, upon information and belief, Ms. Birchmore was 3 months pregnant with her first child, allegedly by one of the defendants. I'm going to break to tell you that I believe she was a teacher's aide at a local Canton elementary school. And when she didn't show up for a couple of days, someone, I think from the school, called in for a welfare check to Canton PD. Sandra Birchmore lived in Canton at the time. They did not do a fetal tissue test on the baby. They did not coffee nut. They did not. And that is even why I am outraged even more. But we're going to get to all that. But just to fuel your outrage, know that they did not test the fetal tissue. Why would they? Right? Not important to find out who the father of that baby was, is it? Not in Canton. Paragraph 9. Ms. Birchmore's death was the culmination of a near decade-long scheme of grooming and repeated assaults from a young age by certain police officers employed by the PD. Footnote 1 says grooming is a method used by offenders that involves building trust with a child and the adults around a child in an effort to gain access to and time alone with him or her. In extreme cases, offenders may use threats and physical force to SA or a child. More common, though, are subtle approaches designed to build relationships with families. Similar to, what the priests did. Come over to your house on Sunday for dinner. And you were the talk of the neighborhood. You had the coolest family on the block. If the priest was at your Sunday dinner table or you were playing golf with the priest, that was just one of their ways of worming themselves into your family to have access to your children. Not all priests are bad. I'm not saying not all priests are bad. This is from my experience handling those cases. That's what I learned. Footnote goes on to say the offender may assume a caring role, befriend the child, or even exploit their position of trust and authority to groom the child and or the child's family. These individuals intentionally build relationships with the adults around a child or seek out a child who is less supervised by adults in his or her life. This increases the likelihood that the offender's time with the child is welcome and encouraged. Paragraph 10. The decedent from her youth suffered from a difficult home life. She struggled as a child with the loss of her grandmother and her mother, and as she grew up, dealt with some significant mental and emotional problems for which she sought psychological care from adolescence into adulthood. Despite these issues, Ms. Birchmore deeply respected authority figures, most notably police officers. As a result of this admiration, she joined the Stoughton Police Department Explorers Program in her early teenage years. It was through this program that the decedent was introduced to the defendants, Divine, Matthew Farwell, and William Farwell. The defendant, Divine, was the head of the program, and the defendants, Matthew Farwell and his twin brother, William Farwell, both worked within the program in their individual capacities as officers and educators. Matthew Farwell was seen on video surveillance at Miss Birchmore's apartment approximately 4 days prior to the discovery of her body, and upon information and belief was the last person to see Miss Birchmore alive. It was later revealed by the PD internal investigation report that Matthew Farwell had known the decedent since age 13 due to her participation in the program, and that soon thereafter began, I'm going to say, because YouTube doesn't like this word, an inappropriate relationship with her when she was 15. The investigation revealed that Matthew Farwell had a continuous inappropriate relationship with Miss Birchmore that started while she was still a minor. The same investigation determined that Matthew Farwell later used some type of location sharing application to track and determine Ms. Birchmore's location. So he was stalking her too. Was it Life 360 for the win? The PD internal investigation determined by a preponderance of the evidence that defendants William Farwell and Devine had similar inappropriate relationships with Miss Birchmore, and that both had repeated contacts of that nature and otherwise with the decedent while on duty. While on duty, folks. That same investigation determined that not only did all three officers have inappropriate relationships with Miss Birchmore, but that Devine effectively established the Farwells as his understudies in using their position and influence to engage in inappropriate behaviors with minors during the program and with the decedent while on duty. Begs the question, I'm breaking from the document for a second to say, with minors, are there other children who were also subject to these disgusting monsters of police officers who abuse their positions of power to take advantage of young girls, maybe boys too? If you see something, say something. If you know anybody else who is a victim of these people, please have them reported to the FBI, because the FBI is investigating this now. Nanny Goat says, Devine, chief monster and creep. Cammie says, I want to see women stand up and tell if it happened to them as well. Yeah. Sussex Sandra sounds like there are more victims. James Jameson, there will definitely be other victims. The statistics show, and I learned this from my handling of the cases that I told you about, that an offender of such crimes against children is not caught until they have already done it 100 times. Something like that. And the nature of the crime is one that is often not disclosed by a child. There's so much shame and guilt involved with being a victim or survivor of this type of trauma that many adults never disclose what happened to them as children. The trauma is real, and shame and guilt precludes a lot of people from ever talking about it. And at the time that I handled those cases, New York was the most pedo-friendly state in the country. If you could keep a kid quiet long enough, you would never go to jail, and you could never be sued civilly because the statute of limitations was ridiculously short. And we fought for many years, and finally the law was changed. 15. The initial investigation determined that Ms. Birchmore owned a cat when she passed, yet the investigation returned no records of adoption papers from an animal shelter in connection to her name. Upon information and belief, former Animal Control Officer Heel solicited a inappropriate act from Ms. Birchmore at the Animal Control Office of the Stoughton Police Department in exchange for the cat. Heel had known Ms. Birchmore since 2015, and upon information and belief had known of Matthew Farwell's relationship with Ms. Birchmore. It was this ongoing pattern of abuse and behavior over the near decade-long relationship that created and exacerbated the underlying trauma, mental and emotional distress suffered by Ms. Birchmore that ultimately overwhelmed the decedent's will to live and in turn caused her death. Obviously, this will have to be amended if it is ever found that this is actually a homicide instead of a self-unaliving or self-deletion, as I guess people say on YouTube. Leaky Leak, any pics of the Stoughton cops? Yeah, I think, we'll show those. I think I showed Devine already. An Eclectic Mind gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much. You are so kind and generous, all of you. BLT. I'm from Southie, and the Karen Reed case drained me. I said I don't have a deep dive into Sandra Birchmore in me. Then cue Melanie on a Sunday morning, and I am in. We're going to just keep trucking on. We are keeping it trucking on. We are going to keep on keeping on. We are the eyes of the world. The world is watching. Thank you, BLT. Appreciate you and your Grateful Dead reference. Melly. Hey, Melly. Glad to hear you mention Nikki McCain case. It's a local case to me about 30 minutes from my home. Happy Sunday, Melly. Really? Oh, wow. That is, I'm shocked by I'm blown away by this case. I have to get into this probably later today. That is a case that needs much more attention. I can't believe that really there's not a lot of coverage on that at all. Thank you, Melly. I mean, I'm sorry that you live near there, but there's billboards up, right? Becky Smart, I've just found your channel during the Karen retrial. I love your satirical sense of humor. Thank you. Thank you, Becky Smart. And thank you so much for the 10. When I do shows with Mark Betterow, we call ourselves the Snark Tank. But it's like it's an acquired taste. You have to like either you get my sense of humor or you don't. And if you don't, well, then move on. That's fine with me. There are almost 60,000 other people who like it, so we're good. Lori Life 360 for the win. Thank you so much for the 20. Could Officer John O'Keefe, in his position with the SA unit, uncovered something these sickos were doing? Yikes. I suggest this may be really huge. Yeah. Wonder if there's a connection, right? Wasn't he working in the SA unit? There may be a lot more connections between Sandra Birchmore and Karen Reed and the Norfolk DA's office and the Canton PD and the MSP than we know yet. But yes, that's where my mind was kind of going to. Great minds, Lori, great minds. Count 1 is wrongful death against the Farwells, Divine and Heal. And this goes on to state, I think there are 10 counts in this complaint. This goes on to state the grounds for a wrongful death action. On February 4th, 2021, Ms. Birchmore was found to be deceased following a welfare check by the Canton police. Last person to have seen the decedent alive several days prior to the discovery of Ms. Birchmore's body was Matthew Farwell. Divine, Matt Farwell, and William Farwell's year-long pattern of grooming and abuse, beginning when Ms. Birchmore was a minor, over the duration of the program and beyond, together with Heal's later abuse, further exacerbated the decedent's underlying mental health issues and difficult home life, and subverted her appreciation and adoration for authority figures, including Heal and the officers she idolized, through a campaign of inappropriate and undue influence resulting from the officers and Heal's actions as such. It was this continuous pattern of grooming and abusive behavior over many years, which was wanton and reckless, that ultimately overcame Miss Birchmore's will to live and resulted in her alleged taking of her own life. Count 2, negligence against Farwell, Divine, and Heal. Here's my little law school lesson of the day for you. And I'll never forget this because I had a torts professor in law school who taught it this way, and I never forgot it. It was a great way of teaching. Negligence. In order to prove negligence. Negligence is like a stool with 4 legs. You need all 4 legs on the stool or the stool won't stand. So in order to prove negligence in a torts action such as this civil case, you need to prove duty, breach, causation, damages. Those are the 4 legs of the stool, if you will. You have to show that the defendant owed a duty to the plaintiff, that the defendant breached that duty to the plaintiff, that the breach of that duty caused damages, which is an injury. Duty, breach, causation, damages. Let's hear what they say about how they're going to prove their negligence. The Farwells and Divine owed Miss Birchmore and the other members of the program a duty to protect this vulnerable class of minors from the very sort of abusive and grooming behavior conducted by these officers. Oh, why does it do that? I like it bigger, better, but it's so bright. Heal owed Miss Birchmore a duty to protect her from abusive and grooming behaviors exhibited by Farwell and Divine, and to refrain from exploiting his status as the animal control officer to obtain inappropriate contact with Miss Birchmore. Farwell, Divine, and Heal breached that duty by undertaking their inappropriate actions against Miss Birchmore over the course of several years. So they owed her a duty. They breached that duty by having inappropriate relations with her as a child and as an adult, by breaching that duty of trust, the higher standard that police officers should be held to. Yeah. Moreover, the Farwells and Devine, due to their positions as officers and educators within the program, held a special relationship with Miss Birchmore and other children in the program. The special relationship also created an elevated duty to protect Miss Birchmore and the rest of the children within the program. It was this willful and wanton breach of duty, trust, and confidence on the part of the Farwells, Devine, and Heel that ultimately led to the death of Miss Birchmore. Count 3, negligence against Devine. Devine, through his position as head of the program, owed a duty of care to the decedent and the rest of the explorers due to the special relationship created by that position. The court has held that while the public duty rule limits liability of governmental units, so we call qualified immunity when we're talking about it in criminal cases as well, a special relationship such as that special relationship with the children participating in the program creates an elevated duty to protect those children rather than the public at large. Devine, as the head of the program, breached this duty to Miss Birchmore by failing to protect her from the conduct of the Farwells, despite his knowledge as to the misconduct occurring at the time. By failing to protect the decedent, defendant Devine breached such special duty, causing her damage and ultimately contributing to her death. Count 4, negligent hiring against the Stoughton PD. Under Massachusetts law, employers whose employees are brought into contact with members of the public have a duty to exercise reasonable care in the selection and retention of their employees. An employer's knowledge of past acts of impropriety, violence, or disorder on the part of the employee applicant is generally sufficient to forewarn the employer who selects or retains the employee that that employee may commit such an assault during their employment. Stoughton and the PD had knowledge of the propensities and history of both M. Farwell and W. Farwell due to the requisite rigorous nature of the background checks prior to becoming a police officer. Stoughton, the PD, and Devine, who served on the hiring committee for M. Farwell and as supervisor of the program, knew or should have known of the instances of misconduct on the part of the Farwells both before and during their employment. Such conduct included both M. Farwell and W. Farwell allegedly impersonating police officers and pulling over cars as teenagers, exercising an abuse of the trust of authority that accompanies the role of police officers, although Devine has previously denied any such knowledge of that behavior as per the police department investigative report. However, such a lack of knowledge, as described by the same report, would be impossible, as Devine was the head of the program, was familiar with both M. Farwell and W. Farwell, and sat on the hiring board for M. Farwell. Additionally, as the investigative report states, the prior acts, including the impersonation of police officers by both M. Farwell and W. Farwell, were widely known throughout the department. Well, I'd say that pretty much locks up the negligent supervision claim, negligent hiring claim. As a result, both the PD and Stoughton had a duty to determine the extent of the prior misconduct by M. Farwell and W. Farwell, and either failed to do so or ignored such prior misconduct. Upon learning of the misconduct by the Farwells and Devine, both prior to and over the duration of the program, and by continuing to not only operate the program, but retaining the Farwells and Devine, the town and the police department were negligent. This negligence on the part of Stoughton and the police department led to the harm and ultimately contributed to the death of Miss Birchmore. Count 5 is negligent supervision against the Stoughton PD. Stoughton and the PD owed the decedent a duty of care to protect her from the abuse and inappropriate conduct suffered by her at the hands of the Farwells, Devine, and Heel. It was by virtue of their employment as officers with the police department that the inappropriate contact with Birchmore was facilitated and continued by Heel. Through the programs, Stoughton and the police department provided Farwells and Devine access to the highly vulnerable population of minors, including Miss Birchmore. As a result, Stoughton and the PD had a duty of care to protect those children from foreseeable harms which could be inflicted by its employees. Stoughton and the police department breached this duty by failing to protect the decedent from the harm suffered over the duration of the program and thereafter. Count 6, assault and battery. This is civil assault and battery against defendants Farwell, both of them, Devine and Heel. The defendants Farwell and Devine intentionally caused harmful and offensive contacts with Miss Birchmore, a minor at the time. And that contact with the plaintiff, which continued after her participation in the program, directly resulted in the death of Miss Birchmore. The defendant Heel intentionally caused harmful and offensive contacts with Miss Birchmore, and that contact with the plaintiff directly resulted in the death of Miss Birchmore. The officers knew of the offensive nature of their contact with the decedent, who, when such contact was originally initiated, was a minor. And all three officers acted willfully and wantonly with the intent to conduct such contact. Heel knew of the offensive nature of his contact with the decedent, and he acted willfully and wantonly with the intent to conduct such contact. As a result of that contact, the decedent suffered significant damages due to continuous mental and emotional abuse and trauma that ultimately led to her alleged taking of her own life. Again, this begs the question, which came first? The mental and emotional issues or the conduct of these defendants? She met them when she was only 13. That's when she started the program. So disgusting. Thank you, Becky, for becoming a new member, and on top for your super sticker. Thank you. Count 7. This count has been dismissed by motion. This was negligent infliction of emotional distress against Farwell's Heel and the Stoughton PD. That's been dismissed, as has count 8, which is negligent infliction of emotional distress. Well, the first one was the estate against the defendants. The second one is Sandra Birchmore against the defendants. Count 9 is civil rights violation, 42 USC section 1983 violation of the Farwells, Devine, Heel, and Stoughton PD. At all times relevant here too, the officers were police officers employed by the town of Stoughton. At all times relevant here too, Heel was an animal control officer employed by the town of Stoughton. Throughout the relevant period of time in which the abuse took place, the officers were operating, quote, under the color of law. The abuse, grooming, and essay all took place and was facilitated by virtue of the officers' position as police officers and educators within the program, and further by Heel's position as an animal control officer. Thanks, RB, for the matcha latte. Throughout the duration, the officers acted under the authorization by the government within the program, abusing their authority within both the program and as police officers. The court has held previously in Almond v. DeKalb County that R and SA by state actors and officials can violate the Constitution as serve as the basis for a Section 1983 claim. The officer's essay of Miss Birchmore as a minor all occurred while the officers operated, quote, under the color of the law and in abuse of the positions given to them. Heel's essay of Miss Birchmore occurred at the Animal Control Office and in the abuse of the position given to him. There exists a clear nexus between the officers' official duties as police officers and educators within the program and their inappropriate conduct with Miss Birchmore over the duration of the program and continuing thereafter. There exists a clear nexus between Heel's official duties as an animal control officer and his inappropriate conduct with Miss Birchmore. Count 10 is civil conspiracy against the Farwells, Devine, and Heel. At all times relevant here too, the defendants were employed by the town of Stoughton. During their employment by the town of Stoughton, the defendants worked in concert with each other throughout the duration of the program to coerce and manipulate the decedent into engaging in illicit, inappropriate activities, oftentimes during the scope of their employment while on duty or engaging in the scope of the program. Really? So these acts against Sandra Birchmore, according to this complaint, occurred while they were on duty and during the program, the Explorers program that so many parents entrusted their children into the care of the Stoughton PD. She can't be the only one. The actions of the defendants were particularly coercive due to their position as officers and their knowledge of the particular adoration for officers held by Miss Birchmore and her vulnerability. Due to the close nature and relationship of the police department and the program, the defendants had knowledge of the unlawful conduct occurring between them and Miss Birchmore. Moreover, the defendants not only knew of the unlawful conduct occurring, but engaged in the same conduct themselves and jointly treated Miss Birchmore simply an object. These actions on behalf of the defendants, including Devine as a supervisor, furthered and encouraged the conspiracy between the defendants, and in turn led to the continuing abuse to Ms. Birchmore, to which Stoughton PD and Stoughton turned a blind eye. As a result of this ongoing abuse due to the conspiracy between the defendants, Ms. Birchmore suffered significant injuries and damages. Signed, the attorneys Stephen Marullo, Richard Mestone of Danvers, Mass. This was dated January 20th of 23, but it was not filed until something like February of 2023. And this is the third amended complaint. So there were two complaints before this one. Anybody coming into this chat today that didn't know anything about this case at all? Hi, Nix. Hi, Nixie. You keep changing your name, Nixie. Yeah, 194 cases against the program. You must be late because I went over that article in the beginning. Marshall Project is investigating this, and there are 194 cases nationwide against this Explorers program, which was founded decades ago by the Boy Scouts of America. Anybody who didn't know anything about this case, okay, yeah, let me know. Give me put a 2 in the chat if you know nothing about this case. Yeah, a lot of people knew nothing about this. Cases of abuse, cases of inappropriate conduct between police officers running the Explorers program and the teenagers that were entrusted to their care who were members of this program. Civil cases. Okay. So many people have been wrapped in Karen Reed. They didn't have time for it either. Yeah, a lot of people. A lot of people didn't know. Well, now you know, and now you can be outraged along with me because now we're going to take a look at the Canton PD report. Canton PD was the one who investigated this. A lot of the same players as the Karen Reed case. And let me know what you think about this investigation. And if you can understand a little bit more why the people in Norfolk County are outraged. Sandra Birchmore's case predates Karen Reed's case by about a year. All right, what's going on here? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? You guys still listening to the playlist from the Karen Reed case? We made a Spotify playlist for that case. It's fire. To think that we may have to do an entire new trial on the Karen Reed case. What? Here, my friends, it's the Canton Police Department. Incident report. Remember all the witnesses that we listened to from the Canton PD, including one of the first witnesses to testify in Karen Reed, Officer Saraf, who told us that it wasn't really important to have accurate records. Dispatch logs didn't really have to be accurate because, the most important thing was that somebody responded to the scene, right? Wasn't really important, remember? Well, notice here, this incident report is dated February 4th of 2021. That's the date the call went out. But if you look at the upper right-hand portion of this police incident report, Canton Police Department incident report, it's dated August 16th of 2023. Is that the date that they actually typed it up, or is that the date that it was printed for purposes of this illustration? I don't know. I don't know. Ay, ay, ay. Just when you think it can't get any worse, it gets worse. Courtney Nichols, thank you for the 10. When I was 16, I worked at the gas station in my very small town in New Hampshire. I cannot express how inappropriate some of the town police were with us teenagers. I wish I had seen it then. I'm sorry that that happened to you, Courtney. Sorry that that happened to you. Entry required. Thank you so much for tuning in from Sweden. Why is Chris Albert championed by conga lines of minions in Stoughton town hall meetings? What are McAlbert's connections to the Stoughton PD defendants? Kevin Albert was one of the investigating detectives in this case. We're getting there. We are getting there. Thanks, Diana, for becoming a new member. Thanks, Melly, for your super sticker. VictorMan7777. Thanks for the super chat. Didn't Canton PD testify they don't investigate deaths, that it must go to Massachusetts State Police? Well, yeah, they did, didn't they? Or maybe, suspicious deaths. I think maybe they ruled this one a taking of one's own life within 16 hours and didn't need to call in the MSP, but that's a great point. Lena says, thank you for loving my show. Your personality is so infectious. Have you watched Trial 4 on Netflix? Corruption goes so far back. It's scary. No, but I will. Thank you for that. Trial 4. Last night, or not last night, but somebody else recommended to me Presumed Innocent, which I started watching on Netflix. I think it's Netflix also. Jake Gyllenhaal, and it's based on the old Scott Turow novel. And the original movie starred Harrison Ford. It's great. I highly recommend. I think there are 5 episodes out. I think I'm 1 episode behind. Really, really good. Presumed Innocent. Nancy Rolfe, thank you for the 10. Thank you. And then I also rented or bought Fresh Kills, which is a movie that was produced by my friend Jennifer Esposito, who you may remember from such things as Spin City and Blue Bloods. She made this movie herself. It's about a mob family in Staten Island in 1987. Starts in 1987, and it's about the women in the family. It's like a female type Godfather. She made this movie. Nobody would back her in Hollywood. It's an independent film. Please support it. Please go watch it. It's called Fresh Kills. It's really amazing. All strong women characters. The women's side of mob families are never told. And she wanted to tell the story for 20 years. And even her Hollywood friends wouldn't back her. So she mortgaged her house to make this movie. It's called Fresh Kills. You can get it on Amazon Prime. It's great. And then we can discuss. So if you need something to watch. All right. So the call went out on February 4th, 2021 at 10:55 a.m. Oh, it says the report date and time. So they did the report the same day. 14:28. Within 4 hours. It says it occurred between 2/4 and 2/4. Occurred between 2/4, February 4th at 10:55 a.m. and 14:28 p.m. Well, no, it didn't, because it just didn't. Status, no crime involved. Nope. No crime involved. So by 4 hours, within 4 hours of responding to the scene, the Lieutenant Michael Lank, remember Lank? Lank got spanked on the stand in the Karen Reed case. Lank and Patrolman Charles Yeaton decided there was no crime involved here. First person involved is next of kin, Darlene Smith, who was is the aunt and next of kin of Sandra Birchmore, who is serving as the executor of her estate in the lawsuit that we just read. Location was in an apartment, 3307 Windsor Woods Way in Canton. It says it was a sudden death. Victim is Sandra Birchmore, white female, age 23, employed by the Sharon Public Schools. Oh, was it Sharon? Why did I think she was employed at Canton? I thought she was a teacher's aide at Canton Public Schools. Maybe she was at Sharon. If you guys know, let me know. And it says she is connected to offense number 1. Next person is a witness who is named Erin Porter, 41-year-old female. Another witness is a 61-year-old female named Kathleen Faherty. Looks like the call sheet. So on February 4th of 2021, which was a Thursday, 10:55 a.m., a call comes in to the call center for a well-being check. The call taker was a Glenn Nix. Gives the location, 3307 Windsor Woods Way. The calling party was Sharon High School. Why did I think she was in elementary school? Maybe the high school called. Was she? All right, we'll figure that out later. I don't want to get the details wrong because the details are important. But according to this report, Sharon High School was the one who called. Three officers responded to the scene. The first to arrive, well, if these times are right, because we know Canton PD doesn't care if the times are right or the order in which they arrived are right, according to Officer Saroff. Officer Ensley Cotard arrived at 11 o'clock. At 11:14, Charles Yeaton arrived, and Sergeant Lank arrived at 11:30. The narrative by Glenn Nix. Principal of Sharon High School requests a well-being check of BIRCHMORE Sandra of 3307 Windsor Woods Way. Ms. BIRCHMORE is a staff member of the Sharon school system and has not reported to work in several days. Officer Cotard to respond. And then it says, by February 4th, 2021, the 4 hours later, 14:24, MSP, CPAC notified and responding. Emmy notified and responding. So I guess Emmy and the MSP did respond. I do not believe that I have the MSP report. If anybody has that, if you can email that to me at fanbase@mlittlelaw.com, that would be amazing. So Little Cupcake says, this is the report they submitted in August 2023, around the same time Marcy released his hostage video. Oh, coincidence? I think not. I think not. Marcy knew the feds were on to him in August of 2023 when he made that hostage video. Remember? Because we had a release of all those letters back and forth from Josh Levy and the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Department of Justice, and Marcy's office wanting to know what they were investigating. Great call, Little Cupcake. Thank you. Here's the narrative from Patrolman Charles Yeaton. On February 4th, 2021, at approximately 11 a.m., I was dispatched to Windsor Woods Way to assist members of the Canton Police Family Services Unit on a well-being check requested by another agency, Sharon, Massachusetts Police. I was greeted in the lobby entrance by Officer Mike Brady and Officer Ensley Cotard, as well as property manager Erin Porter, who provided the key for us to gain entrance to 3307 Windsor Woods Way, Canton. Okay, so Erin Porter was listed as a witness, and she's the property manager who gave them the key. The call originated for a well-being check from Sharon Public Schools, and they contacted Sharon Officer Mike Hawking as a teacher. BIRCHMORE, SANDRA, has not shown up for work or called in sick for several days. Officer Cotard and I entered the dwelling and observed 2 cats in the apartment. I noticed the conditions were cluttered and unkept, and noticed the bedroom door was closed. Officer Cotard opened the door, and we observed a young female in a seated position on the floor with a scarf around her neck and tightly affixed to the closet door handle. Okay, remember that. It says scarf here, because in another part of the report, I think it calls it a strap. Due to the discoloration in skin, blue, and lividity, and appeared that the female had been there for a long period of time. Sergeant Mike Lank, the shift supervisor, radioed to secure the scene immediately. While en route to the residence, Sergeant Lank directed us to secure the scene, and Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, CPAC, was notified and advised that they would be responding to the residents. Well, look at that, my friends. Look at that. Sergeant Lank, first thing he did before he even got there, he radioed in and notified them to secure the scene immediately. Right? Did he do that at 34 Fairview on the morning that Officer John O'Keefe's body was found? Did he do that then? Did he secure the scene? No, he didn't. He didn't secure the scene. He did not do that. But in this case, he did a year prior, because maybe that's supposed to be police procedure, right? Secure the scene. Is it because Officer John O'Keefe's body was found outside in inclement weather? So, hey, we tried. We had no crime scene tape. Like, whatevs, the wind, it was windy, it didn't work. But here you just read, or I just read to you, Officer Lank, radioed to secure the scene immediately. Sergeant Lank and Detective Jonathan McCourt arrived, and a short time later, and Officer Brady, Officer Cotard, and I stayed outside the apartment, and Sergeant Lank and Detective McCourt entered the apartment in an attempt to gather information and proper identification of the victim. Sergeant Lank requested Canton Fire and EMS to respond to our location. Firefighter paramedic Daniel Whitley, does that name sound familiar to you? He testified in Karen Reed's trial, arrived and pronounced Sandra Birchmore deceased at 11:46 a.m. No life-saving measures were taken at that time. Trooper Mike Dunn from Norfolk County District Attorney's Office. He's MSP. So Trooper Dunn, didn't he also testify in Karen Reed? I know he was on the witness list. I know they went through something like 65 witnesses or 67 witnesses. Trooper Dunn, I believe, also responded in the Karen Reed case, as well as Trooper Zach Clark. He also Trooper Zach Clark from Crime Scene Services to process and photograph the scene. It seems to me that perhaps the CPAC, Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, the troopers that are assigned to that office, there may not be a whole lot of them. I don't know how big their team is. Trooper Dunn, I don't know if I recall Trooper Dunn testifying, but I know he was in police reports. Like, that name sounds familiar to me. Julio Suave, thanks for the 5. Shout out to my father-in-law who yelled across the front end at Market Basket that he saw my super chat on your channel the other day. Hi, Ray. Hi, Ray. Julio Suave says hi. Oh, he was in Market Basket watching the show. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And hello to Julio Suave's father-in-law. Thank you, Cynthia Lynch, for the 10 justice for Sandra Birchmore and her unborn baby. Thank you for looking into this, Melanie. Bravo, Mizzy. Yeah, it was Mizzy. Mizzy, who sent me an email months ago. And I just was so wrapped in Karen Reed that we're just getting to it now. So thank you for being patient. Cassandra became a new member. Thank you. And Julie became a new member. Thank you. Hudson, what up? Thanks for the 5. In 9,140 homicides of women aged 12 to 50, the University of Chicago found women who were pregnant at the time of death were 14% more likely to die at the hands of their partner. That's a sobering statistic, Hudson, but I know you're a stats guy, and so I'm going to take your word for it on that, and that's horrific. Moxirella. Thank you. Thank you, Moxirella, for being a member for 4 months. You can watch or rent Fresh Kills on Amazon, on Apple TV or Amazon. Thank you. I just looked on Amazon, and when I searched my Fire Stick, that's the only place that it came up. So thank you for letting everyone know where they can watch that. For those of you who are from the Staten Island area or know anything about Staten Island or just have a desire to get a throwback movie from the 80s, the props, the costumes, everything's on point. The acting of the child actors is amazing. Kaylin, thanks for being a member for 8 months. Happy to be back after being gone to train my 2 new cadaver dogs. Kaylin, you do amazing work. Kaylin trains cadaver dogs. She goes wherever she's needed to help search, often at a moment's notice for missing people. Miss my fellow cupcakes, but always catch the replay. I'm so happy, Kaylin, to have you back for a live. Keep fighting the good fight and doing the amazing work that you do to help find missing people. Okay, Julio Suave, we got Sherry. Thanks for coming, member, Sherry. Mickey, did you see the American Nana podcast that eloquently spoke to Paul O'Keefe's interview? I did not. It's simple, loving, and strong. I did not see that. Thanks, Mickey, for that. I will check it out. I'm trying to stay on topic today because I have a lot of things to say about Paul O'Keefe's interviews. He gave 2. I found 2. And I'm not going to get into those right now because we're talking about Sandra today. So Trooper Mike Dunn and Trooper Zach Clark from the Crime Scene Services came to process and photograph the scene. Imagine that, my friends. Imagine that. They photographed the scene. The scene. And by scene, when I say scene, I mean the scene inside the bedroom. Sandra Birchmore's apartment where she was found dead. Not the scene at the Canton PD or the scene somewhere else in the Sallyport. The actual scene of the actual crime, which they don't call a crime. Imagine that. But at least they took photos, which is a step up from the Karen Reed, Officer John O'Keefe investigation. At 12:44 p.m., I received a call from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Office of the Medical Examiners and spoke with intake specialist Mercedes Robinson. And after gathering pertinent information, the ME's office accepted jurisdiction and will be responding. And he gives the case number. Trooper Dunn requested next of kin to be contacted and respond to the residents for questioning. Wow. So not only do they contact the next of kin, but they have them respond to the scene, right? Not in the comfort of their own home or in the comfort of Jen McCabe's home, right? They actually call and make her calm down, her aunt, who's now going to be devastated by this news, to come to the scene where her niece's body is found to be questioned there. Right? In Sandra Birchmore's apartment. Funny how things were so different a year before the murder of Officer John O'Keefe, huh? Procedures just changed and evidence just revealed itself. Nothing needed to be photographed, documented, or measured. Stoughton Police Department notified and assisting with making contact. Darlene Smith, who's the aunt of the deceased, was not home when Stoughton attempted notification. She contacted the Canton police moments later by phone and was notified of the deceased by Officer Nix. Smith was currently in New Hampshire and unable to respond to the scene. Contact information was provided to Trooper Dunn. Amanda Erickson says, I can't believe they would have a family member come to the scene. Yeah, me neither. LH said they had more compassion for Jen than for this victim's blood relative. Yep. Toshi09, did BA and BH destroy their phones because they have something to do with this Sandra Birchmore? We don't know why they destroyed their phones, but you're right. It could have been related to some other reason or some other case, right? Dragon Eye Thief, responding to Jackie Kennedy, says 100%. I've never known someone who didn't make sure their animals would be taken care of before attempting such a thing. Correct. Well, Cupcake. A lot of powerful people with a lot to lose. Patronus Glow. Hello, Patronus Glow. So good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome to all the new members. Ex-lawyer 50. You're a recovering lawyer too? I know people like recovering lawyer is just something that people say when they've decided that they've had enough. It sucked the soul out of them. Ex-lawyer 50 says, I belong to a huge legal movement in SA for children that are trafficked. So this case has got my blood boiling for many reasons. Yep. Same, same, same. Oh, you're right, Jadzia. The scene spoke to Trooper Paul. There was no need to document anything, right? How did his phone get underneath his body? It just did. I don't know. It just did. Sergeant Lank was able to access video footage with the assistance from property management. The victim was last seen on camera entering the building on Sunday, January 31st, 2021 at 4:41 p.m. Sergeant Lank looking for video footage right away on the scene. He gets there. What does he do? He goes to get the video footage from property management. Dun, dun, dun. Imagine that, my friends. Sergeant Lank securing the video. You know what he didn't do in the murder of fellow Boston police officer John O'Keefe? Look for video. Nothing to see here, folks. Just a body on the lawn of another Boston police officer at 34 Fairview who Lank happens to have personal ties to, who has inserted himself in too many cases involving the Alberts throughout the years. We know because we heard testimony. We know about the Lapolito brothers or the Lopolato brothers. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Lank didn't go secure any video footage from any of the neighbors at 34 Fairview, did he? No, he didn't. Huh. He did it in this case. And according to him, this case wasn't even a crime. Let that sink in. In fact, in the Officer John O'Keefe case, 34 Fairview, right across the street, not across the street, but a little bit diagonally across the street, lived Deputy Chief, Canton PD Deputy Chief Tom Kelleher, who had Ring cameras that pointed right at the place where Officer John O'Keefe would have been struck by Karen Reed's car. And he told them, didn't show anything interesting, so nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Don't you think, Karen Reed has so many parallels to this, so that we need to bring it up. So many parallels to this, because don't you think that if they wanted to prove that Karen Reed did it, because Proctor within 16 hours was convinced that Karen Reed did it, he called for it to tow her car at 2:30 before they found one piece of taillight, by the way. Don't you think they would have scoured the neighborhood for camera footage showing that she actually did it? Huh. They didn't do that. But you know what they did do? Within maybe the same day, they notified the media that they did have Ring footage of Karen Reed hitting John O'Keefe with her car. They told the media that. The media ran with it. That's why all these people are out there right now trolling. David Unetti said it wasn't intentional. Her attorney said it wasn't intentional. They were told there was Ring camera footage of the incident. Guess what? Physics doesn't lie. The guys who built a cannon told us in the Karen Reed trial, John O'Keefe was not hit by a car. And a car did not hit John O'Keefe. So there's that. But, here, in any event, Lank was able to access video footage. And the last time Sandra Birchmore was seen on camera entering the building was on January 31st. And remember, this is the day they're finding her, which is February 4th. Here's a supplemental narrative for Detective Jonathan McCourt. Oh, something else. A supplemental narrative, remember? Remember how Canton PD didn't supplement anything with regard to the murder of Officer John O'Keefe? But here, this is a supplemental narrative, so they apparently do supplement things. They just didn't then. LH said, and I went back to Yannetti's Twitter. His words were not exactly like they quote him. I don't think it was on Twitter that he said it. I think it was on the courthouse steps because I remember seeing video of his statement. I think it was on the, was it his Twitter where he said that, or was it a video like in court on the courthouse steps, or I'm not sure. But if it was just a quote and there's no video of him saying it, I mean, they were still running with the story that there was ring video, and you can still find those stories. And I've played the video. It's still out there worldwide. Thanks, Mimi Didi, for your $5 super sticker. Kimberly and Dina Doe and Amika Cream, Amica Cream, and Mimi Didi became a member. Thank you guys, and welcome. You're gonna like it here. I think you're gonna like it here. Ruby says line conveniently omits video of Farwell, last visitor. I've got some video of him walking into the building. Oh, so yeah, here. Oh, he omits it in his report. Michelle, thanks for the 5. This is just too coincidental. Same area, same cops. Even John has a link with his job. Yes, girl, yes. We're here to shine a light on all of it. I'm not going anywhere until criminal charges are brought because this is outrageous. Okay, this is Detective Jonathan McCourt's narrative. I need a little hydration. 1 second. On February 4th, 2021, at approximately 11:09 a.m., I responded to 3307 Canton Woods for a well-being check of a female party later identified as Sandra BIRCHMORE. Upon my arrival, I spoke to the first responding officers on scene, Officer Yeaton, Officer Cotard, and Officer Brady. I was informed the party was deceased and had hanged herself. Had the officers wait outside the apartment as I made entry. Okay, so he gets there at 11:09 a.m. That's what he's told. And where did Officer Brady come from? Because I don't remember him being on the call sheet. Hold on. Nope. We got Cotard, Yeaton, Lank. There's no Officer Brady that responded. But again, why should the call sheet be correct, right? No reason for the call sheet to be correct at all. No big whoop. It's just a suspicious death that's not suspicious at all. I had the officers wait outside the apartment as I made entry. BIRCHMORE was located in the bedroom in a seated position on the floor with a dark colored strap around her neck. Okay. First guy calls it a scarf, and it has since morphed into a strap. I would submit to you that it's important to keep accurate records when you're a detective, isn't it? It's important that what you're describing in your report is an accurate description. And I would submit to you that a scarf and a strap are two completely different things. The strap was tied to the door handle of the bedroom closet. BIRCHMORE also appeared, something's crossed out there. I don't know if it's pregnant. I don't know what is, this is the redacted copy. Might say pregnant. Obvious signs of lividity had set in BIRCHMORE's face, hands, and abdominal area. There was no visible trauma to the head or defensive abrasions on the hands. Okay, so no struggle, according to this detective. The bedroom, along with the apartment, was unorganized and unkept. No signs of a struggle were observed in the bedroom or the apartment. I don't know. Is there a difference between someone's apartment being unorganized and unkept, and perhaps, I don't know, a perpetrator like messing up the apartment to try and look for something or find something? I don't know. But it seems like they both use those exact same words: organized, unorganized, and unkept. No signs of a struggle were observed in the bedroom or the apartment. Shaming her apartment, right, Shari? Shari, if you weren't here before, Shari D, huge shout out to Shari D, who I neglected to thank for the cash app last time, but I'm thanking you now. Thank you, girl. You're always such a wonderful part of this community, this chat. So generous, and we love having you here. Yep, shaming her apartment. Catherine Fraser says, these guys can't investigate a crime scene, but they sure can fake one. My opinions of my viewers and my viewers' opinions, and sometimes we share the same opinions. But do not conflate their opinions with mine, even though we may agree. Thank you. Coach Karen says, door handle, are you kidding me? Yes, the door handle, like a closet door handle. On the kitchen counter of the apartment, in plain view, were 3 prescription bottles with pills still inside each bottle. The bottles included, everything's redacted. The bottles were prescribed to Birchmore. I also noticed blank on the counter, redacted. Also of note was an active restraining order on the refrigerator in the kitchen, which is spelled wrong. It says refrigerated, and you know how spelling errors bother me, but I'm going to overlook this. The defendant in the restraining order was listed as William Kilroy. His address is redacted. Investigators note, we later had dispatch run William Kilroy's board of probation. Dispatch informed us of 2 motor vehicle infractions. All right, so you guys wrapped this up within 4 hours, even though she had a restraining order against a dude because you ran his criminal record and all he had was 2 tickets? Not going to go any further than that? Not going to dig any deeper than that? Okay. Sergeant Lank arrived shortly after my arrival. Norfolk County DA's office, CPAC, the medical examiner's office, and Canton Fire were all notified. Canton firefighter Whitley arrived on scene and pronounced Birchmore deceased. Firefighter Whitley informed me that he believes Birchmore was deceased a few days. Well, I guess he can tell. I don't know that he's the proper person to ask, but at least he can. He's a firefighter. He's a first responder. He's used to saving lives. He's not a coroner. He's not a medical examiner, but okay. Michelle Dunn says they can't even seem to do a good cover-up. Completely incompetent. Dina Do says, Dina Do 420. Wow, they solve cases so fast in this area. It's amazing. Y2K survivor. Usually, self-hanging involves the use of one's own body weight sitting in the middle of the room unattached to something. If I heard that correctly, doesn't make sense. Oh, Canton Buried Tales coming in to say hi. Greetings and salutation from Canton, Mass. 02021. Question for question. Could you please say hi to your mom? Hi. Hi, Canton Buried Tales mom. Hello. Hello. Hello to Canton. Canton. Sergeant Lank, Mr. Fix It, says Peggy. Yes, right. Wendy C, I'm not going to highlight this, but I'm going to say that's what they say that Epstein did to himself, and it was from the bunk bed, right? Sitting. Yeah, ridiculous. Agreed. Ridiculous. Jason Smith, 16 hours and 4 hours equals 20 hours in 2 cases, according to cops. Are you kidding me? Nope. No, this is the Canton PD, folks. Although in Officer John O'Keefe's case, it was Trooper Michael Proctor from the Massachusetts State Police, who currently has his gun and badge taken away, and he's on, he's in purgatory right now, awaiting his fate. Trooper Matt Dunn and Trooper Kevin Tufts arrived from CPAC. Massachusetts State Police crime scene was present as well. Troopers processed and photographed the scene. Oh, for the love of the traveling Mary, they processed and photographed the scene. And here's an interesting little tidbit too, is that the Massachusetts State Police crime scene was present. Now, is that different from the CERT team? Because the CERT team is who responded to Officer John O'Keefe's murder scene at 34 Fairview in Canton. And The CERT team is the Search and Rescue Team division of the Massachusetts State Police, which I believe one of the troopers who testified said they typically are tasked with locating missing persons, not really securing evidence at a crime scene. So that's why they, well, no, it was Canton PD actually that shot home and got the leaf blower and the solo cups, but the CERT team, you guys there? Do you know? Yeah, search team is search and rescue, right? Are they different from the Massachusetts State Police crime scene investigators? I would say, yeah, right? I would say, yeah. Scott, one of my amazing moderators, totally different department, KPT. See? How come crime scene wasn't called? How come crime scene wasn't called to the murder scene of Officer John O'Keefe, huh? Hmm? Hmm? Scott, I saw a great comment. It flew by. I'm going to find it. Scott is one of my amazing moderators who works tirelessly for me and for this channel. And he is retired NYPD. Oh, I just made her day. Canterbury Tales. Thank you. Hello, Miss Jen, PhD. This is from February of 2021, 1 year prior, almost 1 year to the day prior to Officer John O'Keefe's murder in Canton. This was also in Canton. This case was solved in 4 hours, though. 4 hours they solved this one. Took 16 hours for Officer John O'Keefe. They believe that the date of death was February 1st of 2021, but she wasn't found, Sandra BIRCHMORE, until February 4th of 2021. Kate Spade. Thanks, Patronus Glow. I was going to say the same thing. Kate Spade with the scarf. Yep. The story is evolving. Yes, it is. It's evolving. Evidence might reveal itself and it might not, Bob Bergman. We don't really know. We don't really know. Yes, it is also a method involving a door handle. The singer of In Excess. Was it a door handle? Michael Hutchins, was it? Yes, it is possible for that to happen, but according to her friends and some other things we're going to get into, she was very happy, and this was likely not, and would not leave her cats. That's what people say. I don't know if it's rare. I don't know if it's a rare way that a person could do this. Baker Canner. But Scott said, yes, they're different. And he also said he didn't think that the CERT team should have ever been involved with John O'Keefe's John O'Keefe's crime scene, right? Little Cupcake always coming in with the info. Seems like there's a culture of cover-up among a group of bad apples. Yep. Perhaps. So, crime scene was present, and they processed and photographed the scene. Like when they say process, what does that mean? Did they dust for fingerprints? Did they look for any indication that someone else might have been in the apartment? Any indication that this might not have been a jump to conclusions sort of self-deletion, as it were, taking of one's own life? Troopers located additional prescription medication once on scene. The medication, and then it's redacted, so I don't know what that says. Once the troopers were finished processing the scene, Chris Adams and Caitlin Bulger of the medical examiner's office took custody of the body. After the body was removed and CPAC and the medical examiner's office cleared, I located additional medication in the bedroom closet in a cardboard box. The medication included, and then they name all the medications. Wow, they're really interested in collecting the medication to try and prove that she did this to herself, or to prove that whatever medication she was taking was for maybe crazy people. But I'm not going to jump to that conclusion just yet, because this is the first time I'm reading it with you. This is like a real reaction in real time. Prior to clearing the scene, Officer Brady and I had animal control take custody of the 2 cats in the apartment. Officer Brady locked the door once we were cleared. Wow. So they're clearing the scene pretty quickly. Animal control took custody of the 2 cats. Guess who was with animal control? Guess who allegedly Sandra BIRCHMORE gave a inappropriate favor to come into possessions at least one of those cats? One of the defendants in the lawsuit that we just read. His name was Josh Heel, but I think he's been or Joshua Heel. I think he's been dismissed from this lawsuit. And M. Fetters, this is a good information, but it's being misconstrued. Sandra Bergmore is now being treated as a homicide via a versus strangulation. Not by the police. It's not. We just went over the civil lawsuit in this case, and the plaintiff's attorneys in that lawsuit hired Michael Bodden, a world-renowned expert in forensic pathology, who was also a medical examiner, and his report in the civil case says that he thinks it was a homicide. The police have not changed their investigation into this at all, and there has been no criminal charges brought in this case. So yes, you're part right, but I think a lot of people have made that misconception, so I wanted to clear that up because in fact, when somebody brought this to my attention initially, that's what I thought. I thought that when the Michael Bodden report was released, that was something that the police were doing, but no. But yes, the FBI are now involved and have been for quite some time, as you'll see. So animal control took custody of the two cats. Who from animal control showed up at the scene? Because nobody's listed as being from animal control in this report so far. Was it this guy, Josh Heel, who was having relations with Sandra Birchmore, who showed up to take possession of the cats? I need to know. I need to know. Okay, this is a supplemental narrative for Detective Jonathan McCourt. So another narrative from the same detective who already gave a supplemental narrative. And that was after Charles Eaton's narrative. So the second supplemental narrative. And he says, on February 6th of 2021, I spoke to Sergeant Lank about additional information he had learned from property manager Aaron Porter. See Sergeant Lank supplemental report. Oh, I can't wait to get to Lank's report. This information was passed along to Trooper Tufts by telephone. In speaking to Trooper Tufts, he requested that he would like the video from Canton Woods. Which video? The video of Sandra Birchmore or the video of Matthew Farwell? With his hoodie over his head and a mask on, all bundled up to perhaps not be caught on camera. At approximately 1 p.m., Sergeant Lank, Detective Albert. For those of you who are not familiar, that's Detective Kevin Albert. Why is he the only one who's not named by his first name? Just says Detective Albert. Everyone else they've given a first name on, right? That's Kevin Albert, brother of Brian Albert. And I went to Canton Woods to assist the state police in obtaining video from Birchmore's apartment building. We were met at the leasing office by Trooper Dunn and Trooper Tufts. Maintenance supervisor Carlos Verissimo assisted us in reviewing the video footage. The video of building number 3 is motion activated and only captures the front lobby. Wow. That's another similarity between this and the Karen Reed case is the motion activated video outside the Canton PD Sallyport. I wonder if there's missing video in this case too. Huh. And I wonder if the video was mirrored or inverted as well. In this case, we'll see. Or maybe we won't see, because maybe no criminal charges in this case will ever be brought. Birchmore was last seen on video at 1746, Monday, February 1st, 2021. Didn't something previous in the report say it was the day before that? All right. Last seen on video, 5:46 p.m. For those of us who don't do military time so well, 5:46 p.m. on Monday, February 1st, 2021. Investigators note, Trooper Tufts and Colleen Crawford of the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office took custody of the video hard drive from building number 3. The camera's video time and actual time was believed to be 13 minutes off. Oh, something else. It's another similarity. The time stamping is wrong. 13 minutes off. 13 minutes off in which direction? 13 minutes fast or 13 minutes slow? Isn't it important, Canton PD, to be, I don't know, accurate in your reports? Just 13 minutes off, that's all. Paragraph 4, while we were reviewing video, Carlos informed me that he recognized everyone on the video that enters the lobby on Monday, except one individual. The individual that Carlos did not recognize enters the complex at 21:27. Okay, so 21:27 p.m. The individual is a tall, burly male. The individual is wearing work boots, jeans, a black jacket, and has a black hood on his head. The individual is also wearing a black COVID mask. The party's not wearing gloves and appears to be white. Something else they haven't mentioned yet, which is another similarity, is that February 1st was also the night of like a blizzard, 2021. The individual exits the building at 21:56, 29 minutes later. When the individual exits the elevator, his jacket coat is open and a white symbol is seen on his upper left portion of his black sweatshirt. The symbol resembled what I believe to be the 99 logo. 99 logo. 99 is a military apparel line. 29 minutes. He was there. Devine was the deputy chief in Stoughton PD, says Charles. Thank you so much. Florida Tim says the cop that entered the building after Sandra was reportedly a big anti-masker, but he wore a mask that day. Boy, that masking up was the greatest thing to happen to criminals since, I don't know, ever. Carlos reiterated that he did not know who that party was. Carlos also informed me that his worker, Sturgeon, Michael Sturgeon, saw the party before with BIRCHMORE. I spoke to Sturgeon. Michael informed me that the individual on camera looked like a guy who helped BIRCHMORE move into her apartment. Sturgeon said that BIRCHMORE moved in sometime in December. Sturgeon was not 100% positive. Sturgeon was unsure of the exact date. Investigators note, it was later learned from Sturgeon that he saw the individual the same day police responded to apartment 3214. I ran an in-house check of 3214 and located a disturbance call on December 1, 2021 at 2039. See case number 20-304-AR. Oh, anybody have that? I'm sure I have it in my voluminous materials, but we'll find out. So there was a disturbance call prior there too. December 1, her life was believed to be taken February 1. So exactly 2 months later. Wait, 2021. This must mean 2020. I think this is wrong. I think the date there is wrong. Shouldn't it say 2020 if it was prior? If she was found February 4th, 2021, December 1 would have been 2020. So again, is this a mistake in the police report? Does it not matter? Just something that sticks out to me. Makes me go, huh? It should also be noted that Carlos informed us that BIRCHMORE only had one key fob to enter the building. Carlos was going to email BIRCHMORE's key fob activity to the state police. Oh, look at that, getting right on this key fob activity. After reviewing video, Detective Albert, again, Kevin Albert, Sergeant Lank, and I accompanied Troopers Dunn and Trooper Sergeant Fanning, who arrived on scene, to apartment 3307 as a follow-up of the scene. Huh. All right, so that was 3214. That was a disturbance call. But her apartment was 3307. All right, so they go on a follow-up. Assistant Property Manager Kathleen Faraday provided us with the keys to the apartment. Once inside, Trooper Sergeant Fanning and Trooper Dunn took custody of written material located in the apartment. What written material? Her diary? Her journal? A note? Also, the key fob to her apartment was located on her keys resting on a box inside the apartment. The apartment was locked once we cleared. All right, here is a Supplemental narrative from Patrolman Ensley Cotard. It's getting interesting. Yes, Peggy Lank and Detective Kevin Albert. Yep. Anira says Fanning sounds familiar. Thank you, Desiree, for the 10. Trial 4 is a Netflix must watch. I watched it 2 to 3 years ago before I knew of Karen Reed. It's based on a true story of police corruption, mistrials, and death of police officer. I really hope you watch it. All right, I got it. I wrote it down. Thank you, Desiree, so much. On top with another super sticker. You're so on top of it. Scott McGinnis. Hello, Scott McGinnis. Scott McGinnis, tell me, are you having withdrawal from not being outside the courthouse every day? I'm wondering how you guys are coping. How you guys are coping without your routine of being outside the courthouse every day with the energy and the love and all that stuff. And I need to know. Do you have lobby video showing Matthew Farwell entering and exiting so suspiciously he was a non-masker during COVID? Yes, I do. I have it. We're going to look at it. Maybe not today, because this is a huge case to get into, and this is going to be a series. Suzanne, thanks for the 10. That is a slow death. Sandra never would have let her baby suffocate. She wanted that baby so much. Once again, Canton PD failed. Seems that way. Nancy Joe, thank you so much for your super chat for your 20. I'm so grateful you're covering this case. I hope the FBI opens the floodgates on MSP and Karen Reed gets true justice in the process. I am outraged, Nancy Joe, as well. Thank you. Oh, Sherry, thank you so much. $24.90 for Officer John O'Keefe's badge number. Justice, hashtag justice for Sandra Birchmore. Yeah. Thank you, Sherry, so much for your generous donation. Michelle Fannin, new to this case, if she wanted to be a police officer, why is she working at the school? Well, I think when she was a kid, she wanted to be a police officer. And that's when she joined that Explorers program when she was 13. So, when you're 13 and when you're 23, sometimes you grow and mature. I don't know. Don't know the answer to that. But I think she was a teacher's aide, right? Okay, back to the narrative of Patrolman Ensley Cotard. On Thursday, February 6th, 2021, I, Officer Cotard, was working in the capacity of the school resource officer, herein referred to as SRO, at Canton High School. At approximately 9:45 a.m., I was contacted directly via cell phone from Sharon Police Officer Michael Hawking, school resource officer of Sharon Public Schools, who requested my assistance on performing a well-being check on a female staff member of Sharon Public Schools who has not been arriving to work or seen or heard from in several days. Okay, wait a second. What? They went on the wellness check on February 4th, not February 6th. Why does this say February 6th? WTAF, Canton PD. What is going on there? Wasn't it February 4th? Yep. Well, check. February 4th. Doesn't nobody proofread anything there? Who signs off on this stuff? Lank? Who? Oh, is it not important to have the proper date? Is it just me? LS, aka Chester's mom, they change facts and do not detail things. Nope. Nope. Members, can you put some nope emojis in the chat? Yeah, thank you, Jen Del Rio. Thank you. Nope. Not important. Yeah, Melly, they need to have someone proofread. Like a date's a really important detail, don't you think? So now there's conflicting dates. Officer Hawking advised me that Sandra Marie Birchmore works as an instructional assistant at East Middle School in Sharon. And the school administration contacted him because Ms. Birchmore has not come to work in days, is not responding when they tried to contact her, and they could not get in touch with the emergency contact they had on file. The last known address that Officer Hawking had for Ms. Birchmore was 3 Windsor Woods Lane in Canton Woods Apartments. Knowing that this place was a large apartment and condo complex, I asked Officer Hawking if there was a specific known apartment number for Ms. Birchmore, and he responded in the negative. This was all the information Officer Hawking was able to provide me about Ms. Birchmore. And again, Yeah, maybe this is like a scrivener's error. Remember Lally-Flop and his scrivener's errors in everything? And again, I need to go back because again, I think I'm in the Twilight Zone. 3 Windsor Woods Lane. I don't think that was the address. No, it was 3307 Windsor Woods Way. So there's that. I don't know. That's where they were dispatched to. But again, not important. Not important. And Karina, we have a lot of Corinne. Sorry, Corinne, but we have a lot of Corinnes and Karinas in this chat. Putting in wrong dates and addresses makes it hard to go back and follow up on details. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure does. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here. At this time, I advised Officer Hawking I would go to Canton Woods leasing office, attempt to verify if Miss Birchmore was in fact a resident. If confirmed, I would conduct a well-being check on the residents. With this information, I contacted Sergeant Lank and I advised him of the information I received and that I would be responding to Canton Woods. At approximately 10:45 a.m., assisting SRO Brady and I spoke with the Canton Woods property manager, Aaron Porter, and confirmed that Miss Birchmore is a resident in apartment number 3307. Oh, maybe that is the actual street address. 3 Windsor Woods Lane, and maybe 3307 is the apartment number. I don't know, but details. Silly details. Who cares? We asked Miss Porter if she had seen or spoke to Miss Birchmore recently, and she advised us she has not seen or heard from her in several days. Miss Porter did advise us that she was told by someone within the building that she believes Miss Porter blank. Don't know. I asked Miss Porter if she could try to contact Miss Birchmore with the contact number that she had on file for her. Miss Porter attempted 2 times to contact Miss Birchmore's cell phone, but she advised us that the call was going directly to her voicemail. I advised Miss Porter that we would attempt to make contact with Miss Birchmore in her apartment. At approximately 11 a.m., SRO Brady and I knocked and announced our presence at the door, on the door of Miss Birchmore for several minutes, but did not receive a response. At this time, I contacted Sergeant Lank and advised him of the current situation. Sergeant Lank stated that we should try to locate her vehicle in the parking lot, and if located, we will make entry into the building. We will make entry into the apartment, sorry. Sergeant Lank advised us to look for a vehicle with a Massachusetts plate, 2018 Chevy Cruze sedan, color blue. I located the vehicle outside Building 3 and radioed into dispatch that I located her vehicle. Officer Brady and I visually inspected the vehicle and noticed that there was snow still on and around the vehicle that appeared undisturbed. Undisturbed snow. The reader should note that the last time it snowed was on Monday, February 1st into Tuesday, February 2nd. We also noticed her Sharon Public School identification card hanging from the rear view mirror with her name and picture on it. From that, they were able to determine that she probably had not been in her car since February 1st. This is before February 1st. I requested for a uniformed officer to the scene and was able to obtain keys for the apartment from Miss Porter. A short time later, Officer Yeaton arrived on scene and we all made our way back to Miss Birchmore's apartment, 3307. Again, I knocked and announced our presence at the door several times with no response. With the key, all officers on scene made entry into the apartment and immediately noticed that the apartment was disheveled and unkept, with 2 house cats running around the apartment while we made entry. When we made entry. Again, victim shaming. I first entered the bathroom, open door, lights off, and rendered that area safe. I then entered the bedroom of the apartment. I opened the closed door, lights off, and noticed Miss Birchmore seated on the floor with some sort of belt / lanyard string / rope secured tightly around her neck that was secured to the door handle of the bedroom closet, deceased. It was immediately apparent to this officer that Miss Birchmore was deceased, as I noted lividity about the skin and face and rigor about the body's extremities. I also noticed a large pooling of dried blood around the mouth. After locating the body, I exited the bedroom and noticed an active restraining order Documentation redacted, attached by magnet to the kitchen refrigerator. Okay. So far, he's the most detailed out of all of the reports, and he is a school resource officer. Okay. And it is morphed from a scarf in the first report to a strap in the second report to a belt / lanyard string / rope. What kind of knot did it have? Yes. Crystal DeSaro, thank you. There's a big difference between a belt and a rope and a scarf, right? Details are not important to the Canton PD. Thanks, Hudson. The latest on Joshua Heel, who was also involved, he has been dismissed from this case. He made a motion to dismiss. It has been granted. He's no longer a defendant. Kika 0503, lanyard. Wasn't she wearing one in the complex video? Access card. That's interesting. We'll take a look. We can see you. Hello, 10. We can see you. Rosemary Gallagher says she was seen entering her apartment with a snow brush. So sad. Janelle says Thursday was the 4th, Saturday was the 6th. Correct in the details of the Canton PD, are you, Janelle? Thanks, Janelle. Back in 2021, I assume. Victorman 7777, thanks for the 5. Melanie, obviously you haven't been informed. Details are not required when a fellow law enforcement officer is involved. Nope. Nope. I'm sure we have some other emojis that we made for the Karen Reed trial that are very appropriate in this situation. I'm sure you guys will find them, members. Hey, Lynn, did you gift another 10 memberships, or is that from before? I think it's from before. Joe Ellen, thanks for becoming a new member. And Sherry, thank you for gifting a membership, Sherry. Sherry D coming in with the gifting. I love it. Okay, so he sees the restraining order that is active, attached by a magnet to the kitchen refrigerator. At this time, Officer Yeaton contacted the Canton police station and advised them of our discovery. After discovering the body, we were advised by Sergeant Lank and Detective McCourt to exit the apartment and secure the scene for processing. They were told to exit and secure the scene. He also requested for the medical examiner's office, the Mass State Police CPAC, and crime scene investigation to respond to the scene. Sergeant Lang and Detective McCourt arrived on scene and made entrance into the apartment. A short time later, troopers Kevin Tufts, Trooper Matt Dunn, and Kevin Clark arrived on scene to begin processing. I cleared from the scene a short time after. I contacted Officer Hawking via cell phone and advised him of my discovery. He stated that he would pass the information along to school administration once I confirmed with him that the next of kin had been notified. He advised me that Miss Birchmore was also at one point a staff member / teacher with Stoughton Public Schools, and that he contacted Officer Shiana Isabel, the SRO for Stoughton Public Schools, about Miss Birchmore earlier for contact information before contacting me. I advised him that I would reach out to her for information. This guy's on it. I got to say, this guy is on it. He's a school resource officer, and he is he's written the best report so far. Patrolman Ensley Cotard. Good on him. If he's still there, Canton High School is lucky to have him. I contacted and spoke to Officer Isabel via cell phone and advised her of the situation. She advised me that she was very familiar with Miss Birchmore and shared with me that she was a former graduate of an employee at Stoughton High School. She also shared that Miss Birchmore has a long history of blank that she believes went untreated. Oh, I'm going to guess that says either mental illness or depression or something such as like that. A long history. I don't know, going back to maybe when she was 13 years old, when she started to be groomed by the police officers at Stoughton PD. Maybe. Maybe that's what caused it. I don't know. Just a guess. Just a wild guess. Stab in the dark. She stated that the Stoughton patrol officers had responded to her previous address on wellness checks for Miss Birchmore on several occasions. Okay, like when? Officer Isabel stated that Miss Birchmore had a history of claiming blank when she actually was not. Anybody know what that means? Claiming blank when she actually was not? I don't want to guess there. Claiming pregnancy, claiming, yeah, claiming blank. Carrie, that's what I'm thinking. Pregnancy, claiming when she actually was not. She also advised me that Miss Birchmore's mother and grandmother recently passed away and that her aunt, Darlene Smith, would be a good person to contact for next of kin. Pregnancy, illness, pregnant, sick, I don't know. Yeah, what a terrible thing to write. Yep. Uh, suicidal ideation, maybe. Pilola's mom, we don't know, but I am surmising that there are probably many other victims / survivors. Thanks, Tammy. Tammy says they have him at the Canton High School because he knows what he's doing. They can't have him within the actual Canton Police Department office. He's a liability to them. Yeah. Props. Props to Ensley Catard, school resource officer, who's the most detailed here. Claiming blank when she actually was not. I don't know. I don't want to guess at that. I thanked her for the information and advised her that I would contact her once Miss Birchmore's next of kin was notified so she could notify Stoughton Public Schools Administration on the matter. At this time, the case investigation remains open and this report will be kept on file at the Canton PD pending further departmental action. Now we get to the narrative of Sergeant Michael Lank. Lank was spanked. Teacup Kraken, that's a great comment. What a nightmare for all these people. If you can't turn to the police for help, then who do you turn to? If you can't trust your children with the police, who can you trust with your children? Nobody. Mardella, again, I'm going to highlight your comment and just correct you to say, Mardella says it's been confirmed to be a homicide by strangulation, confirmed by an expert hired by the plaintiff's attorney in the civil case. Battle of the experts. It is not confirmed in the police investigation. This is a civil suit. It will be battle of the experts because the medical examiner who did the autopsy on Sandra Birchmore ruled it a taking of one's own life. So it is not confirmed that will be a battle of the experts in the civil case. There have been no criminal charges brought against any of the police officers involved here. The fetal tissue has not been tested. Sandra Birchmore was 3 months pregnant when her body was found. And her friends all say that she was pregnant with a police officer's baby. Thank you, Dina, for gifting a membership. You are very, very. Lank was spanked. That's what I said, Melly, in the Reed case. Lank was spanked. That was the day he testified. That was my thumbnail. Thank you, young Black economists. SROs are sworn officers and usually have additional training to deal with children. They are just as worthy of respect as other officers, and I am not in any way, shape, or form submitting to you that they are not. I am just saying that they typically probably do not respond to death scene investigations, and he was the best out of everyone who investigated this death so far. He wrote the best report out of anybody that we're reading. Patriotic says not just the police we cannot trust. Mizzy! Thanks, Mizzy. I gave you a shout out earlier. Mizzy's going to be on Brian's show, LTL True Crime, tonight, talking about this case. So you're going to want to tune in. I don't know what time it is. I think it's tonight. Just tell me. So let's turn to Michael Lang's report. Sergeant Lang. Yep. And here is his report. On February 4th of 2021, I was working as the patrol sergeant for the 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. shift. At approximately 10 a.m., I was notified by School Resource Officer Cotard that he was going to be conducting a well-being check on a party at 3307 Windsor Woods Way. The party in question, Sandra Birchmore, had not shown up for work at the East Middle School for several days without notifying anybody at the school. Officer Cotard, Officer Brady, and Officer Yeaton responded to 3307 Windsor Woods Way in an effort to make contact with Sandra Birchmore. Once on scene, Officer Cotard notified me that nobody was answering the door. Officer Cotard was then able to locate the subject's vehicle in the parking lot. The vehicle was covered in snow and appeared not to have been moved since the snowfall on Monday, February 3rd of 2021. Again, didn't somebody just say that the last snow was February 1 to February 2? But according to Lank, it's February 3. Being unable to reach anybody at the apartment, officers on scene were able to make contact with the property manager, Aaron Porter, who provided them with a key to access the apartment for a well-being check. Upon entering the apartment, Officer Cotard located Birchmore in the bedroom, deceased with a black strap around her neck, which was tied to the bedroom closet door. Okay, now Lank is calling it a strap. He's calling it black. And I think the first report said it was a blue scarf, right? Am I in the Twilight? Can I have some Twilight Zone emojis, please, members? Thank you. Twilight Zone, we are outraged. What is going on here? Now it's a black. It is morphed now, by the time Lank gets there, to a black strap, which was tied to the bedroom closet door. At this point, the scene was secured, and Officer Yeaton requested my response to the scene along with Detective McCourt. Once on scene, access to the apartment was limited to Detective McCourt and I. Firefighter Whitley was allowed into the apartment with Tyvek boots on in order to pronounce the party deceased. Once the scene was secured, State Police CPAC unit was notified and responded to the scene. So firefighter Whitley, who also responded to the unattended death of Officer John O'Keefe a year after this, was told to wear Tyvek booties so as to not disturb the crime scene. Whereas the Canton PD on January 29th of 2022 were tromping all over the crime scene with their boots. It seems like they used a little more protocol here than they did in the murder of Boston police officer. And that, Paul O'Keefe, should outrage you. That should outrage you, if nothing else. Yeah, Cotard did not say blackstrap. Nope. Right. We went through that. He said lanyard / belt / everybody said something different so far. I pointed it out. Don't worry, Mizzy. If you're just tuning in, I've been getting it. Once the scene was secured, again, they secured the scene. Lank secured the scene. He knows how to do it. Just didn't do it for Officer John O'Keefe. State Police CPAC unit was notified and responded to the scene. While waiting for the CPAC unit to arrive, I went to the rental office and met with the property manager, Aaron Porter, and maintenance supervisor, Carlos Verissimo. Verissimo was able to access the video camera system, which only captured the interior entrance to building number 3, which was the residence of the deceased. The video is motion activated and captures people entering, exiting, or any other motion in the front lobby. While observing this footage, I observed Birchmore's activity in the following order. Wow. I mean, he gets there, he's looking for video right away, unlike in the murder of Officer John O'Keefe. Didn't look for video in and around 34 Fairview. He's right on it a year prior. Oh, thanks, Tracy. Tracy Haverstick says, I love this channel and rarely talk. Come on in. Everybody say hi to Tracy. Hi, Tracy. Tommy. Hey, Tommy. Tommy, are you doing any of the summer tour shows? Oh, by the way, yeah, speaking of Dave Matthews, well, that is, I'm referring to Dave Matthews. Anybody out there has a pit ticket available for sale for Jones Beach Dave Matthews show on Tuesday? Email me at fanbase@mlittlelaw.com. And or pit tickets for the Guilford, New Hampshire shows, because that could be fun too. Fanbase@mlittlelaw.com. Love you. Tommy says it's hard to baffle and confuse with clear and concise reports. Yep. Truth. They love motion censored cameras, says Pretty Eyes. Yep. Okay. While observing this footage, I observed Birchmore's activity in the following order. February 2nd, 2021. Wait. Okay, hold on. February 2nd. It was February 1st, I thought. Now it's February 2nd? Is it Sunday? Somebody else said the last footage of her was on February 1st. Okay, so now they're saying it's February 2nd. Am I missing something here? I'm in the Twilight Zone. The days of the week are off, says Little Cupcake. Well, it says this is what, because before they said it was 13 minutes off, and it was on February 1st the last time. All right, well, now he says February 2nd. Sunday, leaves the building at 9:51 a.m. on the telephone. Sunday, returns to the building at 10:08 a.m. carrying a large box containing blank. Sunday, leaves at 10:11 a.m. Sunday, returns to building at 1:15 p.m. with 2 pizza boxes and talking on the telephone. Sunday, leaves at 4:39 p.m. Sunday, returns to the building at 4:41, texting on the telephone. I was later informed by Verissimo and Birchmore that Birchmore is captured again on camera, leaving the building on Monday, and she returns at 5:46 p.m. holding a snow brush. This was the last time that Birchmore was seen on video. While reviewing the video, Porter was able to obtain Birchmore's file and locate her emergency contact, Darlene Smith, who is the aunt of the deceased. Okay, so he's claiming that it's February 2nd, and then Monday, that's the Sunday, and then he's claiming that on Monday, which would have been February 3rd, she returned at 5:46 holding a snow brush. This is all wrong. Hey Joe says February 2nd, 2021 was a Tuesday. Wow. Michael Lank doesn't need to be accurate in his reports either. And this is strange credulity. Monday at 5:46 p.m. holding a snow brush. This was the last time she was seen on video. While reviewing the video, Porter was able to obtain Birchmore's file and locate her emergency contact, who's her aunt. Upon returning to the apartment, I met with troopers Dunn and Tufts from the State Police CPAC unit. I advised them of all the information that we had obtained thus far. The scene was processed and photographed by the CPAC unit. Processing and photographing. What a new concept. Medical examiner's office was contacted and responded to the scene to take custody of the body. It was at this time that Officer Nix was able to get in contact with Darlene Smith, who was currently in Raymond, New Hampshire. Officer Nix advised her that Birchmore had been found deceased. Smith told Officer Nix that this did not make any sense to her and went on to tell him that blank was very happy about it, that she was pregnant, I'm sure it said, that she was pregnant and very happy about it. She was unable to respond to the scene as she was out of state. So right away, the next of kin, her aunt, who probably knows her better, obviously, than anybody who's investigating the scene or anybody who lives in the apartment building or any property manager, says, no way. No way would she take her own life. She was pregnant and she was very happy about it. Thursday evening, I was contacted by, thank you so much, Rebecca, for the Cash App. And I'm sorry that I forgot to turn that off when Mark Bettero's thing goes off. That kind of makes me crazy. Ding. Thursday evening, I was contacted. Now the dates are all off because, now it's Thursday. We don't know what day it is because the dates are all wrong. I was contacted via email by Erin Porter, who's the property manager of Windsor Woods. She stated that she had seen somebody enter the building on the video footage that she believed was Alexander Stenstrom, who is a friend of Birchmore. Stenstrom had applied for housing a few weeks back with the recommendation of Birchmore. She said she was not positive due to face coverings, mask, but she wanted to bring it to our attention. I advised her that we would look into the matter when we were able to access the video footage again. When would that be, Sergeant Lang? How many years later would you wait to look at the video footage? Okay, so now we've already got two suspects, right? We've got Alexander Stenstrom, who Aaron Porter thought was important enough to contact Canton PD about, and we got the guy who's named in the restraining order that is attached by magnet to her fridge. At least two potential suspects, but they're gonna right away within 4 hours rule this no crime involved, and she took her own life. On Saturday, February 6th of 2021, I don't know if that's correct. Was February 6th a Saturday? I returned to work as the patrol sergeant on the 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. shift. Once at work, I noticed another email that I had received from Porter stating that she had a concerning phone call on Friday night around 9 p.m. and would like to speak to me about it. I contacted Porter immediately. I don't know. Scott, maybe you can tell me. Do these detectives not check their email when they're not scheduled to work? I mean, is it an email that he wouldn't check his email until he came back to work? Because that was Thursday, and then he doesn't check his email till Saturday? Okay. Saturday was the 6th? So how could February 2nd be a Sunday? Can't. Because, last time I checked, there was like 7 days in a week. Okay. Oh, Scott says we didn't have access to our department emails when we were home. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Randy coming in with the jokes. They didn't frame the guy on the fridge because his name wasn't Art. Bob Weir says the cop who got her pregnant wasn't a suspect. Not right away. Although I'm sure that Darlene told them who the daddy was, and the friends would have if they interviewed any of the friends. But let's go on through this police report and see what else we can find here. Where were we? Oh, he got that email on the Saturday, the 6th. If it's Saturday and if it's the 6th, we don't really know. So Porter said she had received a concerning phone call on Friday night around 9 p.m. and would like to speak to me about it. I contacted her immediately. She told me that she received a call last night on their emergency line from a party named Tina Thompson. She said that Thompson was very upset and was making statements about Birchmore. She stated that Birchmore had been dating a police officer and that blank. I assume that says she was pregnant with his baby. She told Porter that the police officer blank told Birchmore blank he would take care of the problem himself. Porter advised her that she should be speaking with the police and not her. Detective McCourt provided Trooper Tufts with all of this information, as well as the contact information for Porter and Thompson. That police officer's name is Matthew Farwell, who happens to have a twin brother named William Farwell, who was also engaging with inappropriate relations with Sandra Birchmore. For Matthew Farwell, he took her virginity when she was 15, because they find text messages about that later. I think it was the feds that found those, because Trooper Guarino found nothing. Just like he found nothing in Karen Reed's case. At approximately 1 p.m., I returned to Windsor Woods with detectives Kevin Albert, and McCourt. Verissimo had agreed to meet us there and review more video from building number 3. We were met at the leasing office by Troopers Dunn and Tufts. While the video footage was being reviewed, I spoke with the office leasing manager, Kathleen Faherty, told Faherty that it had been brought to my attention that she had spoken to Birchmore in recent weeks before her death. She acknowledged that she had spoken to her on a couple of different occasions and agreed to speak with me about it. She said that she spoke with Birchmore about 4 weeks ago and that this was when she first learned that Birchmore was pregnant. I would imagine that says Birchmore told her that blank, and she seemed nervous about it. She told Faherty that blank, the baby daddy, perhaps, I hate that, the father of her child was a police officer who was not happy about, I'm going to say, the pregnancy and did not want to, I don't know, be a father to her baby or something. Birchmore never told her where or in what capacity the police officer worked as a police officer, or the father, or maybe the father of her baby. Birchmore went on to say that the two had broken up and were no longer together. At the time of this conversation, Faherty believed that Birchmore was blank. Maybe it says how pregnant, how many weeks. It doesn't say baby daddy. No, Scott, I just said that and it was inappropriate. But I think that it said something like that. Yeah, because he already had a family. And in fact, the night that he was seen going into her apartment building, his wife was in the hospital getting ready to have a C-section the next day. She was pregnant as well. Thank you. I just, yep, that's what Corn Pope said because he already had a freaking family. Yep. Yep. Nope. Need to take a breath. The next time Faherty recalls talking with Birchmore was approximately 3 weeks ago. During this conversation, Faherty states that Birchmore seemed to be happier and joked with Faherty about anticipating multiple packages to be delivered in the coming weeks as she had blank. She also stated that once the blank, I'm going to imagine baby came, she was hoping to move into a bigger unit within the Windsor Woods. Faherty told me that all packages that are delivered by courier come to the leasing office and that they send a message to the tenant. She told me that she had a record of Birchmore's recent deliveries. She picked up 2 packages on January 30th of 21. There were 3 packages from Kohl's that were delivered last week but had not been picked up yet. There was one more package that had just arrived on this day, February 6th, from Kohl's. The packages were small, and based on what Faherty had told me, something's redacted. I did not open the packages, but brought it to the attention of Troopers Dunn and Tufts. After speaking with Faherty, I returned to apartment 3307 with Canton detectives Kevin Albert and McCourt. We were accompanied by Troopers Dunn, Tufts, and Sergeant Fanning from the Mass State Police. Once inside the apartment, my attention was brought to the large box containing a blank. This was the same box I observed Birchmore carrying into the building on Saturday. What? A crib? A bassinet? I don't know. I observed the shipping label on the box and noticed the package had been delivered to Raymond, New Hampshire, which was the current address for Birchmore's aunt, Darlene Smith. The apartment was further processed by the officers on the scene. That's it. And that is the 12-page initial police report from Canton PD. And it is now that I must check in with you and see how you are doing. Uh-huh. Katie. Oh, Matilda, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your super sticker. Katie, thanks for the 20. You're so generous, honey. Thank you. Supposedly there was no activity on her phone after Farwell left, and all her friends and family said that was unusual. Matilda, thank you. Thank you, Gerda, for becoming a new member. I would like to now highlight the hypocrisy of Court TV. This may trigger some of you, but I find this very important to highlight here and to show. And trust me when I tell you that I do not even like watching on any sort of video because this person who's the talking head in this piece from how many days ago was this? July 5th. Today's July 7th. The person who is the talking head on this video that seems to be, well, highly regarded by Court TV. attempted to defame and humiliate me when I appeared twice with her on court TV in January of this year. And she tried to make me look like a fool because I said that in my professional experience of handling not only thousands of motor vehicle accidents during the course of my 30-year career, in addition to dog bite cases and all types of injury cases, that in my opinion, the injuries to Officer Don O'Keefe did not line up with a car accident, but rather the attack to his right arm, or the abrasions, lacerations, whatever you want to call them, on John O'Keefe's right arm seemed to me to be caused by an animal attack of some sort, perhaps a dog attack, perhaps a German Shepherd attack. Perhaps I said it was unusual that Chloe was rehomed, the house was sold, the basement floor was ripped up, and she did her very best to try and make me look like an absolute moron by saying something like, I love how everybody who doesn't even have a PhD thinks that they can look at a photograph of an arm and tell what the injuries are from. So, Team Brittany, who I don't think is here today, who's one of my amazing moderators, pointed out to me a YouTube channel called American Standard Canine that is headed up by Garrett Wing, who is a canine police dog trainer. And I had him on my show because I said, listen, I'm being gaslit. I'm being told that I'm crazy. Just take a look at this picture. No, we're doing it. Georgia, we have to watch this because it has to do with Sandra Birchmore. So we're doing it. Garrett, take a look at this and tell me what you think this is. I didn't even tell him anything about the case. He knew nothing about Karen Reed case. He knew nothing about John O'Keefe. We did this show all the way back in I don't remember, March or something. And he looked, he said, absolutely, it's a dog attack. Right, she's not a PhD. So he did a show on my channel. And since then, he dropped another show regarding the Karen Reed case. So I put it on my community page. So I felt, a little more validated. And then Pretty Eyes says she doesn't have PhD either. So yes, but then what had happened was the FBI hired not one, but two accident reconstructionists, biomechanical engineers, crash daddies, guys who do this for a living who actually do have PhDs. And the FBI hired them, and they even made a cannon. To shoot a cocktail glass at a taillight. And they said, in their opinion, the injuries on John O'Keefe do not line up with a pedestrian versus car motor vehicle accident. They just don't. So I want to show you this video, and we're going to take a look at it together, and we're going to break it down because it's important to point out the hypocrisy and the way that some journalists / experts in the field use things as a shield and a sword. So let's go.
This morning, we're shining a spotlight on some new information that could bring justice to the family of a pregnant Massachusetts woman found dead back in 2021. 23-year-old Sandra Birchmore was 3 months pregnant when she was found dead inside of her Canton apartment. Now, Canton is the same town where the Karen Reed saga is unfolding. Birchmore's death was ruled a suicide by investigators. Now, according to the Boston Globe, the Birchmore family hired famed forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Bodden to review Birchmore's autopsy, and he concluded the cause of death was strangulation. He's saying this is a homicide case. Now, the Birchmores hired Dr. Bodden, according to the Boston Globe, because they're suing the town and 3 officers who they say, they claim engaged.
Okay, first of all, it's not the Birchmores. It's Darlene Smith, who's the executor of Sandra Birchmore's estate, her aunt, because her mom and her grandma died recently. I don't know how recently. So it's the plaintiff's attorneys, actually, that probably hired Dr. Bodden, because plaintiffs' attorneys take these cases on contingency. They're not paid by the hour. They don't get paid unless your case settles. And so they front the expert reports, and experts are very expensive. They don't ask the family for the money until if and when the case settles or is tried to verdict and money is collected. Carrie B, I happen to agree. And so it's not the family, it was the plaintiff's attorney that hired him, but in any event, let's go.
In inappropriate sexual relations with Birchmore while she was a minor. and part of the Stoughton Police Explorers program. That's a program for kids. Now, all three of them, William Farwell, Matthew Farwell, and former Stoughton Deputy Chief Richard Devine, have all left the department. And they also have all declined to comment on the investigation. Let's talk about this. Let me bring back in retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindeffer and retired criminal defense attorney, the man who famously represented Jodi Arias and saved her life, Kirk Nurmi. Kirk, let me begin with you, please. In your view, how might Dr. Bodden's findings change this whole case legally?
Well, you know, we got to go back to the reality of where this sprung, right? Canton, and we know the kind of the misdeeds they have presented in court. The Commonwealth has been open to charging some woman when there's no science behind the accident. So when we talk about this,
wait a second, I love this. I love this. Kirk Nurmi coming in with the facts. Charging a woman with murder when there's no science to back it up. I wonder if he's going to get into a fight with JC here. Let's see. Nurse Kim says, Melanie, I totally agree. Hi, Nurse Kim. I've gotten so many emails from my followers of dog bites and scratches on the arm. They look eerily similar to Officer John O'Keefe's arm. I know. And once you get those photos, you cannot unsee them. So please don't send me any of those photos, you guys, please. I may cough throughout this video because there's certain words in here that YouTube doesn't like. And there's nothing worse than doing a long stream and then having them give you a yellow dollar sign at the end. So I may cough, just like we're in court with Lally.
Of science and lack of investigation, that's where it becomes problematic. Not just from the lawsuit point of view, but the court of public opinion, right? And so you see this possibility, this specter, that these three men that have left the department, and we can't make any accusations against them, but the suit makes accusations against them that are really troubling. And we see then that maybe this isn't being fully investigated. So someone with the prestige of Dr. Bodden comes in and says, listen, these are some of the things that were happening. This was a murder. That needs to be really taken a look at in more depth, as opposed to just what the Canton police tells us, because their word is not very valuable to the population.
Nope.
I appreciate that point, Kirk Nurmi. I want to play a clip from a Karen Reed supporter outside of the courthouse who brought up this case. Let's watch.
I think it spoke to us because we're local. So my bestie lives in Canton. I'm a Stoughton resident. The SANDRA BIRCHMORE story really spoke to me. I have a child in the middle school, and it was local, and we knew it just didn't sit right.
Jennifer Coffindeffer, to you here, please. Something that's become clear to me as the days and weeks have gone on is that these protesters, supporters, whatever you want to call them, people wearing pink, they are there for
the people wearing pink. Protesters, supporters, whatever you want to call them. Victor Man says she blocked her uncle when he disagreed with her on X. Thanks for the super chat. Not surprised. Not surprised. I quit Twitter after one of the things she did was call for my disbarment for spreading lies about the Karen Reed case. So I was like, I don't need this drama. What am I doing? I'm out of here. Gringa. So glad that I'm covering this case. Thank you, Gringa. Here we go.
different reasons. I've learned that it's not all about Karen Reed for some of these people, and the Sandra BIRCHMORE case is talked about. Do you think?
Really? So are you going to talk about how the counter protesters are not really about Karen Reed too, but more about their hatred for a certain journalist named Aidan Carney? How about that? And by the way, I know he doesn't want them, but sympathy, prayers for Aidan Carney and the loss of his mother. We're not going to talk about that now. Let's not get sidetracked, but I just, it's worth mentioning. And yeah, how about those people? You can't use it as a shield and a sword, Julie. You can't say the Karen Reed supporters are there for the wrong reasons, but the other people aren't. Okay.
I think that in a way this is being conflated by the two cases are being conflated by some members of the public, perhaps, who have a distrust for the police.
wrongfully or rightfully?
Well, I've always said, Julie, that this case mimics, in a way, the OJ case in this way. In the OJ case, there were huge issues concerning race and race relations and Rodney King. And in this case, there are huge concerns concerning political corruption and corruption of the police. And when you look at the Sandra Birchmore case, there can be no other finding in terms of what I've read and what even the Stoughton police put out, that these officers were having relations with this young girl.
Okay, first of all, it's Stoughton, not Stoughton. And second of all, how are you so quick to say that they were wrong? The same PD was wrong in the Sandra Birchmore case, but they were right in the Karen Reed case, which, by the way, happened a year after this. So, corruption runs deep. And if it was running a year before Officer John O'Keefe's murder, do you think perhaps it might have carried over another year? I don't know.
At as early as 15 years old. Now, if that's proven, that's statutory rape, and that's a very serious allegation.
Yeah.
Then, Julie, when we look at the particulars of her suicide, she was found with a cord ligature around her neck, tied to a closet handle.
Yeah.
The individual left her place, one of the officers accused of this relationship, and was the last to see her alive. I mean, I understand now. Then you go to Boden's findings. He says also nothing was done with her clothing in terms of analysis, and that's problematic.
Is that problematic, Ms. Coffendoffer? Because in the John O'Keefe case, his clothing wasn't even properly stored. It was thrown into a bag after it got up off the hospital floor, and it wasn't even tested for over a year. And then when they did test it, in fact, there were some witnesses that testified that not only did the stains on Officer John O'Keefe's jeans and shirt contain DNA of some of the stains up to 4 unknown contributors. But that doesn't mean anything, right? When it's the murder of a Boston police officer. But here you're outraged that they didn't test Sandra Birchmore's clothing. You can't use it as a shield and a sword. Right? Hello?
They should be looking for signs of DNA from somebody who could have possibly caused this situation to happen.
Like in the John O'Keefe case? The unknown contributors to the DNA, to the blood stains that were on Officer O'Keefe's shirt and jeans, because they did find unknown contributors. So are you saying that because they found those, there could be an unknown perpetrator in the John O'Keefe case? Or is that only in the Sandra Birchmore case? Which is it? Can't have both ways. Nope, Nurse Kim. They were never compared to any DNA profiles of those at 34 Fairview. The hypocrisy is unbelievable. No, because guess what? They never got any DNA from anybody who was in the house at 34 Fairview. So which is it? Thank you, Patriotic. Preach, sis. Preach. Yep. People are conflating with the Sandra Birchmore case. Yeah. Hey, what? You can't believe it, right? No, can't believe it in Sandra Birchmore because she's a young girl. But in the Karen Reed case, you got some special hatred for Karen Reed for some reason. Not really sure why, but you tend to attack and go after other women. I know. Trust me, I know.
So it's a concerning case, and I agree with you. It's sort of been intertwined with Karen Reed.
Jennifer, right. And the intertwining of cases shouldn't happen. Every case is separate, as we know. Every facts or every case factually is different from the next. I can see why it's being brought up, though. I can see why it's being raised. And yes, to your point, Jennifer, if this woman was raped by these people who
during that.
The claim, the allegation, by members of her family is that they suspect abuse, sexual abuse. If that happened, all of them need to be prosecuted and to the fullest extent of the law and penalized accordingly for this. If it happened, we don't know. But
if it happened,
where do we go from here to find that answer? Kirk Nurmi, let's talk about that.
Well, I don't know. For starters, maybe somebody could test the fetal tissue of her unborn child. For starters, because that was never done. So they don't know for sure who the paternity test was, but they let all these guys, Divine, Matthew Farwell, and his twin brother, William, leave the police department in 2022. Move on, resign. I don't know. Did they get pensions? Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. This guy, I like this guy, Nurmi. Let's see what he's got to say.
To find out if this woman, when she was a child, was sexually abused, as her family is saying, as part of this program or by these police officers allegedly. How do you begin to work that case?
I kind of have to wonder, Julie, when we talk about the intertwining of these two cases, if the Department of Justice isn't involved in investigating that as well, because what we're seeing.
Guess what? They are. FBI is involved.
And one of the things that came out of, I believe, Mr. Jackson's mouth, he talked about the thin blue line becoming a tall blue wall. Right. And it seems like perhaps the Canton Police Department is engaging in a pattern of conduct. If it is, as Dr. Bond found, to kind of protect their own, if you will. So this could be very much evidence of that. And I think the only way you really truly find out about this is if an outside investigating agency like the Department of Justice is looking into these things. Because whatever you think about the Karen Reed case, I don't think there's anybody that could say that this officer's conduct is okay, and neither would be protecting it.
Right. No, certainly not. If these officers did what the family believes they did, according to the reporting that we've seen out there, then they need to be prosecuted. As I said, no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Right.
Agent Coffindeffer, last word to you, please. In terms of where this investigation begins, do you think it has begun already? We know the chief of police said he'd be remiss if he didn't remark that he's reviewed the findings of the outside doctor retained by Sandra's family.
Okay, first of all, the chief of police is a woman because her name's Donna McNamara, and it says it right there. So you're misgendering her. Are you just assuming that the chief of police is a man? Okay, but let's hear what the statement said. Chief Donna McNamara of Stoughton Police, what she said about the death of Sandra Birchmore and Dr. Bodden's report in the civil case.
Profoundly disturbed and troubled by what I read. He said, "Well, I'm not a trained medical examiner. I'm not qualified to draw any conclusions. The findings certainly warrant further examination at the highest level." Chief Donna McNamara, current chief at the Stoughton Police Department. Jennifer, your thoughts on if something has commenced?
Well, I think something has commenced. It's got to commence in this particular situation. And from what I've read, there are actual text messages. And I think the phone information is going to be critical because my understanding is there are some admissions that were made during those text messages. That again is.
Oh, wait a minute. You mean text messages are important? Now text messages are important with admissions in them. Oh, I see. So when Proctor's text messages were discovered in the Karen Reed case, and he made admissions of trying to strong arm the medical examiner into, changing the cause of death on her report. And when Proctor's text messages indicated that the Boston police officer on whose lawn Officer Don O'Keefe's body was found was not going to catch any heat because he's a Boston cop too. Or when he said that they're going to pin it on the girl, right? Well, those text messages are not important and they should be disregarded, and they were on his personal cell phone and nobody ever should have got them. But you know what? In Sandra Birchmore's case, these text messages from police officers are going to be believed. Okay? Right? Yeah, right, Shannon Nicole, because Celebrite is unreliable. Yep. I mean, how do you have two diametrically opposed opinions on two different cases that happen to be investigated by the same exact law enforcement agencies, the Canton Police Department and the Massachusetts State Police, involving many of the same players? And you're going to say in the Sandra Birchmore case, they are so important. But in the Karen Reed case, they're fake, not important. Karen Reed is a murderer and should, what did she say? Get SA'd in prison? Oh, no, that was somebody else who said that, another lawyer. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Part of the allegations, I think they're going to be able to at least make some conclusions regarding this relationship, regarding what happened, and hopefully get to the bottom through more medical examination regarding what really happened to Ms. Birchmore.
More medical examination, kind of like the investigation into Officer John O'Keefe's death, kind of like the medical examiners and like, I don't know, Dr. Marie Russell, who's got like decades of experience, and Frank Sheridan, who also decades of experience, who said that the injuries were not caused by a car accident. So we should disregard that, right? But here in this case, we got to get some more medical evidence, right? Okay. Wow.
Great points from you both. We've got to leave it there, but we'll continue following the Sandra Birchmore case here on
Yep.
opening statements. Jennifer Confendeffer, Kirk Nurmi, thank you both for your time and expertise. We'll see you later.
Yeah, we won't see you later. But I just thought that we should point out the double talk, the word salad, and the gaslighting that is going on from, if you want to call Court TV mainstream media, I don't know even what to call it at this point, but what say you, my friends? What say you? We haven't even gotten into the internal affairs investigation that happened in this case, but we will, because this is only episode number 1. And we need to also talk about other things that were text messages, video. There's a lot of things that were uncovered in the Sandra Birchmore case. And to date, there have been no criminal charges. No criminal charges have been filed against any of them. We didn't even talk about the fact that Sandra Birchmore's lawyer, the plaintiff's attorney, was sanctioned $2,000 in February for using something like ChatGPT to write his motion papers. So there is so much more to get into here. I don't know if they kept fetal tissue, because I don't know if she is cremated. And I don't know if they saved any fetal tissue, but I hope they did, because the fetal tissue has never been tested. But that's all we have time for today, my friends. We're here for almost 3 hours, and I thank you so very much for spending your time with me. Let's just take a few questions before we go. Victor Mann says she blocked Runkle when he disagreed with her on X. Not surprising. Thank you so much for your super chat. And Amy, thank you for your comment and super chat. On top, another super sticker always coming in. Entry required. Thanks for tuning in from Sweden. Look at the McAlberts, Sopranos, Turtle Boy, Assault. These thugs run roughshod over local government, PD, and towns. They run the town halls and call. I don't follow the local politics there in Canton, but I know a lot of you do. So what's going on there is it should outrage you. Thank you for gifting a membership, Queen Olive. Queen Olive Ruth Ann, thank you. And Go Georgia became a member. Welcome. And Scott Corey, thank you for becoming a member. Also, shout out to a subscriber who wrote me a very sweet email from the UK. And she told me that watching my channel has helped her heal from some things that she had been plagued with for a very long time. And that the email that she wrote to me, her name is Gil. So shout out to Gil if you're watching. The email that she wrote to me was the first email she had written to anyone in 4 years. So we're here. We're here for you. We're here to keep you company. We're here to entertain you. I'm here to entertain you. Let me entertain you. Let the chat entertain you. To all of the people out there who have no one to spend their time with, we're here for you. Or spend their holidays with. We are here for you. And it was a lovely email. So shout out to Gil for sending me that. She said, could you shout me out? Because she doesn't know how to chat. And I said, yes, of course I can. Of course. Thank you, Little Cupcakes. Little Cupcake says Melanie covers these stories out of the goodness of her heart. Yeah. Somebody's got to talk about it. Scott says, please put your DNA on the like button. We promise that Proctor won't get it. Subscribing is free. So please subscribe. I feel real weird not having a regular schedule with you guys where we were watching the trial every single day. So maybe we'll start doing something daily. I don't know how many of you want to watch the Alec Baldwin trial, but I'm interested in that only because Alec Baldwin is a Long Island guy. The Baldwin brothers all grew up right here in Massapequa, which happens to be where the accused Long Island serial killer Rex Heuermann is from. And in fact, Rex Heuermann graduated the same high school as one of the Baldwin brothers. I think it was Billy or Steven. I'm not sure which. And also, as an actor, I find it very interesting. And I think it starts Tuesday. And it's only going to be a 2-week trial. So we could squeeze that in. Thank you, Patriotic. Before we get to, a lot of people can't stand Baldwin. And that KPT, that's the thing. A lot of people can't stand him. And I wonder if that's going to play into whether or not they get a conviction, because a lot of people just hate him for whatever reason. He's not a popular guy in the court of public opinion. you know, everything that's going on with his wife, Hilaria, and her pretending she was from Spain, whether you believe that or not. They now have 7 kids together, and the things that he did to his daughter, Ireland, leaving those horrific voice messages on like an answering machine tape when she was a little girl. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. And it's only a 2-week trial, so we could squeeze it in before we go to Florida for the Ashley Benefield trial, which is the Black Swan trial, who is being accused of taking the life of her husband. And she claims to be, or maybe I think battered women syndrome is her defense. So there's a lot of interesting stuff out there. Yeah, people aren't interested in Baldwin, but I find the questions of law to be very interesting. The questions of law, like, can you hold an actor responsible for a criminal act when they're in a movie using a prop gun and there never should have been any live ammunition on set? The questions of law are interesting to me. So, all right, Kelcher. Kelcher from Cambridge is going to come watch with me. All right, cool. Love it. Hello to the UK. Hello, Poppet too. So we need to, you know, he's a Long Island guy. He's a New Yorker. He lives out here in the Hamptons. It's interesting. It's Billy who went to high school with Rex Sherman. And who's the dad of Haley Bieber? Steven? Yeah. Oh, thanks, Christine. Says if you're hosting, I am watching. It's good to have a routine, you know, it's good to have a routine. Also, it's in New Mexico, so it's on Mountain Time. So for those of us on the East Coast, we get to wake up a little bit later. We get to wake up a little bit. Oh, Kat, you're in New Mexico right now. It's so beautiful there. So beautiful. Thank you, my friends. Thank you. Breaking news from one of my kids says Margot Robbie is pregnant. So I don't know if that's true, but if it is, you heard it here first. And my daughter also knows a lot. A lot. Scott, I think I will check on this in a little bit, whatever you sent me. I didn't know if you wanted me to bring it up on stream or just something to look at later. I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure, but please hit the like button on your way out. It is so very, very important for the stream. Thank you to Rebecca for your really amazing Cash App, who says thank you for guiding us through these nightmare cases. And Justin, thank you so much for always coming in with the Cash Apps. And I always, if you want to be anonymous, just say anon, please, at the beginning of your donation. YouTube takes 30% of super chats. So there's other ways to donate. And that's why I put the QR code up there, because some of you are watching this later. And it's easy. Kyla, thank you so much for your 5 matcha lattes. Thank you. It says, thank you for creating awareness, fostering justice, sharing your knowledge. Oh, I appreciate you. And Rhonda, thank you so much as well. All right, hit the like button, do all those YouTube-ish type things that the YouTube-ish type people like to help the stream. And like, subscribe, comment, come for me in the comments. If you don't like what I have to say, let's do it respectfully. And, you know, we can do it. We can do it. We can do it. And as I always say to end every stream, thank you to my moderators who keep the chat classy, and they work so damn hard. They really do. And that's why this is such a great place to be, because the moderators keep it classy. Nobody gets attacked. Nobody gets, you know, people feel safe chatting here. And I love that. Thanks, Melly. Watch LTL True Crime tonight. I think Mizzy's going to be on, right? Talking about this case as well, Sandra Birchmore. So if you want to know more stuff, she is pregnant. All right. So we got some breaking news. Margot Robbie pregnant. Love Margot Robbie. I just love her. Okay. Remember, as I always say to close out every stream, my friends, be cool, be kind, be classy. It's not hard, really. It is so not hard. I'll see you guys soon. Peace. Make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell so you'll know when I'm going to do that next stream about Nikki McCain, because you don't want to miss that tragic story out of Northern California. Peace, everyone.